2023 marks the 25th anniversary of the bomb blast tragedy that shook the nation. The truck bomb exploded outside the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi in 1998, leaving thousands dead and over 100 Kenyans injured. Even as the country commemorates the day, victims are yet to be compensated. On August 5th, 2023, a Senate ad hoc committee joined the survivors for a prayer session at the National Memorial Park as compensation is being pushed. For the past quarter of a century, the victims have knocked on every door pursuing compensation by the American government, but their plea is yet to be responded to. And President William Ruto is expected to continue with his 12-month Kenya for a third day in a row. He is scheduled to visit the launch several projects in Nyeri County. President William Ruto will launch the Ichamara Rutune Road, the Kaigonji Water Project in Tetu, and the Othaya Water Project. He will later inaugurate the Nyeri Town Bar Station before holding a meeting with the governors of the area at the Sagana State Lodge. This as he is defending his budget, claiming that it is the same plan that was implemented during the administration of Mwai Kibaki. Speaking at Sagana, the president reiterated that so far his government has succeeded in strengthening the economy.
Napenda kuwaeleza ya kwamba we have stabilized the economy of the Republic of Kenya. Tumehakikisha ya kwamba mambo ya kukopa madeni kulia, kushoto, mbele na nyuma na juu na chini tumekomesha. Katika budget tuliyopeleka bunge, nilimwambia huyu kijana Ndindi Nyoro, kwa sababu yeye ndio chairman wetu wa budget, nikamwambia hakuna budget itaenda kupelekwa bunge ya madeni. Tukaondoa madeni karibu nusu trilioni ambayo ilikuwa imewekwa huko, tukaondoa. Tukasema we must build this country on the solid foundation, not on the foundation of debt.
And Azimio leader Raila Odinga scoffed at claims that his coalition was clamoring to join President William Ruto-led Kenya Kwanza government while maintaining that the opposition has no such intentions. Raila said his side has agreed to dialogue with the ruling coalition in order to address the most pressing issues affecting the country, such as the high cost of living.
Lakini kuna kitu muhimu ambayo wamesema. Ati Wakenya wengi wameona uzito kwa upande ya gharama ya maisha. Sivyo? Wananchi walikuwa wamelia sana, gharama ya maisha imepanda juu. Bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta, bei ya sukari, bei ya stima na kadhalika. Wakaikikao juu sana. Na tukasema hii mzigo umekuwa mzito. Tukamwambia Bwana Ruto na watu yake kwamba Wakenya wanasikia uzito. Na Waswahili walisema ati kibebacho kikivuja ni nafuu kwa mchukuzi.
Speaking in Nyeri County, the ODM leader led Azimio MPs in asking a section of leaders from Kenya Kwanza who have maintained a hardline position on the impending talks.
Finance Act sababu inaumiza wananchi. Kamati ya finance ilizunguka na ya budget walipata ile inaitwa wananchi kutoa mawaidha yao. Out of 1,100 people who send their memorandum, 900 people said they do not support that bill. Lakini wakatumia kifua, hata wajumbe kutoka huku kwetu wakatumika, wakanunuliwa hela kidogo na wakaenda wakapitisha hiyo bill.
This as President William Ruto has maintained that Kenya Kwanza will not hold any discussions with the opposition over the cost of living.
Tulikuwa hata na nini?
We apologize for that. A better audio will be played later. Now, the ICT Ministry, in collaboration with CDF, has initiated a plan to build 1,450 digital stations. CS Elito Walo says the centers will help the youth find employment opportunities through the internet. Speaking in Diani County, Walo said that the centers will be built in public schools and technical institutions.
Vile vile tuko na mpango ya kuleta makompyuta katika vituo za TVET na mashule. Mmesikia mbunge Fesala akisema kwamba tayari tumeweka moja Kinango na ingine pia Matuga katika TVET. Hiyo mpango ya kuleta digital laboratories ni moja ya mpango ya kutafutia vijana wetu na wasichana wetu ajira.
I'm Dennis Asato, good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start.
A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. And you must blame it on Adam, not because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it's corruption, whether it's murder, whether it's petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room,
welcome to
Kenya's
Monday.
biggest conversation.
All right, not much happening on these streets. A little bit of traffic is starting to build up on Jogo Road, and it'll take us out into the city via way of the Kamkunji roundabout. That is all looking sane for now, but it is Monday after all, so let's just wait and see what all that will pan out to be. On the Thika Superhighway, not much coming into the city. We're likely to see at the junction of Outer Ring some movement later on. It's starting to look busy coming out of Westlands, and we'll see that the Red Hill Link Road will take us some traffic as you're going towards the Westlands roundabout. So some of that will go off in that direction. The Northern Bypass looking sane as well. Coming off of Limuru Road, not much in terms of movement, but all of this is a look-see kind of thing. Outer Ring is kind of busy as well. We'll see that North Airport Road will pick up in pace in a short while, but it looks like we're starting off Monday just right. Let's keep in touch and see what happens as we come through towards 6:30. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
After 6, how are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to Monday, 7th day of August, 2023. Ndu,
yeah.
How you doing?
I am fine. Yeah.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was all right.
Yeah. What did you do?
I watched football. I'll just be honest. Yes.
What football?
Women's World Cup, to be specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is one of the matches that you watched.
I watched 2 of the matches yesterday.
2 matches yesterday from the Women's World Cup. What else did you watch?
I can't remember. Yeah.
You didn't watch men's football?
No, not yesterday. Look, my heart is just jumping because today Nigeria is playing at 10:30. So I just am focused on that.
But you see, if you had watched yesterday's football at 6 p.m., your heart would be at ease.
Because Arsenal did the thing?
Yeah. Because Arsenal did the thing that Arsenal is supposed to do.
which is
Win.
beat Man City. Yes, and that happened.
Well, I guess I was at peace because the US was taken out of the tournament. So I was like, okay, yeah, they needed to go. I was upset that South Africa, Banyama lost the way in which they did because their striker basically played that match by herself.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
She had... Look, I have to give... I must give the stripes to the Dutch goalkeeper because she is very good at her job. She just was not letting anything in the back of the net.
So South Africa lost to?
Katlana tried. South Africa lost to the Netherlands. And
what was the goal like?
It was
goal
2-0.
margin?
It was
2-0 to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
South Africa out.
South Africa out, unfortunately.
We're in the knockout stages, the round of 16.
Yep.
And America out.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's good. Yes, it is.
Who knocked them out?
Sweden. Sweden went to penalties and knocked the US out. It was an interesting thing to watch.
Okay. Where is City? He's walking in. City Muga is away this week. He's basically decided, you know what, my batteries, those ones, I need to go buy new ones.
New batteries. Not even recharge.
He's taking time buying new batteries, installing them,
seeing if they work, test drive them.
Proper new batteries. But we have a guest host who's joining us today. Isabella Obara has been here many times before. How many times? Twice.
Two times, yes.
Two can be
Two
many.
are many.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Should be many. Good morning.
Good morning, Isabella.
Thanks
How
for
are you?
inviting me. I'm all right.
You look cold.
I am cold,
No, she
actually.
looks
I get
warm.
cold very
Okay, you look warm as per you have worn clothes because you are cold.
I get cold very fast, so I had to.
You're one of those people?
Yes, I am. But it's nice to see you again, though.
Good to see you too, Isabella.
Thank you so
Happy
much
to
for
see
having
you.
me.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Yeah.
Isabella is the technical lead and advice and litigation at the Independent Medical Legal Unit. She's a lawyer. Mambo yote tuseme tu. Isabella is a lawyer. Wakili, good morning.
Good morning, Latiff. Yes, Wakili in short.
Yes.
But,
how was your weekend?
My weekend was amazing. I had time to slow down. Yes.
Right.
It's been a very fast week given the kind of work that we do and looking at the issues we saw from the demos. So we had a very fast week. My weekend was very slow, just as I love it. And I think this is a good start to the week. Hey. It's pumping my blood, all right?
Yeah, it's you come in and you're at 150 kph.
And this is what you guys do every other morning,
2 seconds,
right?
Every morning, yes.
Wow, okay. Commendable.
Us guys, Formula 1 drivers, same was up.
I agree.
Foot on the gas, boom.
Go.
You're just pumping the gas the whole time.
Go.
From Monday.
Yes.
Okay, no Monday blues over here. Love it.
You'll tell us whether Imlu is involved in Shakahola.
I'll tell you more. Thank you.
And what we expecting to see. Are we ever going to see anything coming out of Shakahola in terms of an explanation, justice, conclusion, anything like that? Anyway.
It's a tall order, but we'll see how to go about it.
Sawa.
Yes.
So let me tell you what we'll be discussing this morning. Isabella Obara joins us as our guest host. She'll be here throughout the show. At 7 a.m., we'll be joined by the Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly, the MP for Kadhiani constituency, Robert Mboi. He comes in at 7. Will anything come out of the bipartisan talks? New bipartisan, new talks, new date given, new agenda. What's going to happen? 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Today is August 7th. It's the memorial of the August 7th bomb blast. What year was it?
1998.
1998.
Yes.
I wasn't here, but...
So in 1998, something happened in the middle of the city, and that was the bomb blast at the U.S. Embassy then. Several people died, many were injured, many live with their injuries to date. And we'll be looking at Kenya's battles with terrorism. Dr. Hassan Khanenje is a director at the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. He'll be here to look at the years that we have seen since then. Okay, there was, of course, the bomb blast at the Norfolk Hotel in the 80s. And then this one in 1998 was the one that basically just ushered Kenya into the new age of terrorism. Since then, we've had several terror incidences. We're still seeing them even last week. We'll be talking about Kenya's fight and battles with terrorism. At 9 a.m., there's a new expose by the BBC and it's online. It's on YouTube already. Mistreatment at Kenya's elderly care home. Basically, this is one of those stories that the BBC have done. It's a BBC. It's called the BBC Africa Eye, and the investigative arm of the BBC in Africa, and they've done a story at an elderly care home in Nairobi, near Nairobi, where they have shown a lot of mistreatment, basically just inhumane treatment of the elderly who are taken to this home, either by their relatives or they end up in these homes one way or the other. Hussein Mohammed is a journalist, a senior investigative journalist. He used to work here at KTN, and we hosted him here a number of times while he was at KTN. He joins us today. He is one of the journalists who worked on this story. He'll come and tell us what they did. He says they've taken 18 months working on this particular story. So that is what we'll be discussing. Are we live streaming the show?
Yes, we are.
We are?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Now, everybody who's online, say hello to all of us, including Isabella Obara. Isabella is a double L-A, right?
Yes.
Sawa. ISABELLA. What was your kuandika hapo hivyo? Isabel.
Isabel.
Elizabeth. I get all of that.
So say hello to everybody. Isabella, Ndu, Eric, and of course, Ednah. We'll be saying hello to you shortly after Ndu tells us the weather.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
13 degrees and cloudy in Nairobi, highs of 21 and lows of 12. And we'll see lows of 13 and a partly cloudy Nakuru at 13, going to highs of 26. 21 will be the high and a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 12, and it's 12 degrees and clear in Eldoret with highs of 23. It'll come down to lows of 12. It's mostly clear at 22 in Mombasa, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Malindi at 24. Partly cloudy at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19, and Kakamega is clear at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 15. Looking into Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 20, highs of 26 and lows of 16. And into Dar es Salaam, 23 and clear, highs of 29 and lows of 21. 7 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 21 and lows of 5. And it's cloudy at 26 in Lagos, highs of 29 and lows of 25. 19 and mostly cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 32 and lows of 19. Looking into Beijing, Monday afternoon is cloudy at 25, highs of 27 and lows of 24. And it's cloudy at 13 in Paris, highs of 22, and we'll see highs of 21 in a mostly cloudy London at 13. It's Sunday night in New York, and it's cloudy at 24. Coming into Monday, highs of 30 and lows of 22.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
19 after 6.
Good morning, everybody. Paul Wanjohi says good morning. Good morning to Eric and City. Yes, where City is. Yes. Good morning. Looking forward to a new week. Greetings from Manchester City. Where things maybe did not happen according to plan. All right. Peter Ruto says good morning from Nakuru. Good morning, Spice FM. I wish you a blessed week. And to you too, Jimmy Wekesa from Munich in Germany. Monis Jane says good morning. Gladys Waithaka, please say good morning to Gladys.
Gladys Waithaka, good morning. What did she say we were going to do? Something was going to happen. She was buying me something.
You were the one who... Somebody was buying somebody lunch. It was on your bill. Something on her bill.
Okay.
That is a bit. Remind us, what did you say you're going to buy for Eric?
Yeah, okay.
She read Citi's article yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She said that what? I can tell you that if we Kenyans didn't allow politicians to carry our brains, Kenya would be a great nation. Okay.
Very good.
Bristol Nagila says, good morning from Roaka. Stephen Langat is tuned in from Rongai. Good morning, good people. Eric, listen to a song called Amkeni by an artist from TZ called... A song called Amkeni by an artist from TZ called Newa Mitego.
Newa Mitego.
You know the guy?
Yes, I do.
Or is it a woman?
It's a man.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an amazing
The song is called Amgeni.
Amgeni.
Tutatafuta sahi tu.
Cindy Hill. James Sekento is introducing himself as James Sekento and says, tuning in from Kerarapon. William Ngure says, good morning, the Great Morning Show. Asante sana, karibu sana. Good morning, crew. You people need to invite security personnel to elaborate on WorldCoin, aka WorldCon. It's our bus. Tuned in from Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. Down under.
I like it.
I like the name. Me too. Wagga Wagga.
Hey.
Tuning from H-Town, that's Houston City, that's Sam. He said we should be all proud of our African ladies teams. Indeed. Nigeria, South Africa, Morocco, for how far they've come in this World Cup. Great job. Indeed. Now, Isabella, they have put the L's.
Yes.
They've added another L where the L should not be. So it is all right.
Isabella.
I will give you Isabella correct, but now we have called you Obala.
I want to believe the L is for luxury, but it's an R. Thank you, the 2000. Thank you so much.
It's Isabella Obara. Maybe that's what he meant, but let's move on. Brian Otieno says, loud and clear, Kobo is tuning from Mfangano Island, still waiting for rice and meat. From where? Was there rice and meat planned for Mfangano Island?
Not from Mfangano, for Central, I believe.
Okay. So for Central, so they thought it would reach Mfangano. It has not yet reached.
Bad luck.
Maybe there's a promise, a separate promise from Fangano people.
Okay, no problem. Just be waiting. No, it will come. Mugera Nelson says, good morning to you all. Brian Otieno says, some people just need psychiatric intervention. What happened again? Regarding mistreatment of the elderly, very upsetting indeed. Very, very upsetting to even hear. Good morning from Dubai. You guys looking good as always. Wishing you a blessed day. Asante sana. George Dungo says, good morning, big team. Just freezing here at King's Gulf. Why? Where's
King's Golf?
Isabella, I'm telling you today your name. Now, she has gone from Isabella Obala to Isabella Obare. I don't know where we'll be by the end of this greeting.
Just for the sake of clarity, Obara is my dad. So we need to do it right. It's Obara, O-B-A-R-A. Obara, the very big name. But thank you, Paul Ngetich. I'm happy that you are specifically saying hi to me, Paul.
You specifically. Good morning from Bomet. That's George Mburo. Grace Cosma says, good morning, Fave Spice Breakfast Channels, all the way from Al Markia, Doha. So hot over here. Politicians fail us. Punctuation is good. I believe so hot over here. Full stop. Politicians fail us. Always fail us. Okay.
Full stop again.
Full stop anyway. Okay. Ruth Karenge here, joining live from Minneapolis in Minnesota. She says summer is almost coming to an end. Yeah, so you guys get into the winter months, isn't it? Sami Lidanya says good morning from Mazeras. God bless. Good morning, Isaac Korir from Nairobi. We see you guys this morning. Thank you for joining us. Karibuni sana. I have to say hello to Carlosian from Ukunda. Hezeron says good morning as well, and Faristo Muganda is in the house today.
Karibu Kilomutu. Okay, city is away. So today, we're doing the thing with the proverb. We're going to West Africa, and this group of countries, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, what's standing out about them?
We are resolute in our thinking that you will not just walk all over us. No, please. And all of us are of the same belief.
Okay.
And as City says, if you disturb us, we will give you the gift of sight.
Okay.
You will see.
Suspended members of the African Union.
That's what they call it.
Yes. You call it suspended.
With undemocratically elected leaders and all those kind of things. But in these countries, there are people. It used to be called the Songhai Empire a long time ago, according to history. And there's an ethno-linguistic group in West Africa who are called the Songhai people. Okay? Now, today's proverb is from those Songhai people. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep, a unique dish reserved for special occasions. If the head is well cooked, a person will eat it.
It's very true.
Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep.
Cooked head of a sheep.
If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. What are they saying?
Interesting.
What are they saying?
But you need to understand what, in my language it's called Isiewu.
The head.
Isi is head, Ewu is goat, right? And if you are given Isiewu at a
visit,
somebody offers you Isiewu, then you're very, very special.
Yeah.
Pepper soup. Goat head pepper soup.
Yes.
So of course it runs through.
The visitor will only eat it if it
is well cooked.
If you've cooked it well.
Yes.
So what I'm getting is we only save confidence for special occasions. Is that what I'm picking? That's interesting.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, right? That's a deep one, actually. If you think through it, it's a deep one.
Let's see what our visitors will be telling us today when they come. Let's look at the headlines.
All right. On the front page of the Standard this morning, headlines jumping at us. The first one is Azimio fury at ICC Cannes tour. Why? Why is everybody angry? So below that is the mystery of a granny who lay dead in her garden for 9 months.
Okay.
Exactly. She lay dead in her garden for 9 months. I'm not understanding. As in 9 months passed and people were looking at her body every day saying, she's there. Should we go and ask a question? Not quite sure what that was all about. So it's a mystery. Investigations by the DCI have now revealed that it took 9 months for the family of the deceased to discover that their mother was long dead without them knowing. So we'll look into the details of that story, but it is quite a bizarre one.
Even Nyumba Kumi didn't know?
Nope.
No one. And apparently she was in her compound. This is horrific. 9 months is a long time.
It is very, very long. She was
That's
just
enough
there
to give back
in the
to someone.
compound.
Yes.
So, bomb blast baby speak 25 years on, and that's another one. Raila rules out handshake deal with Ruto. Okay, everybody says we're not shaking. Inside storm at University of Nairobi. There's a storm. Did you know?
Yes.
Okay. What next for Niger after ECOWAS threat? So that's a question. That's what's happening on the Standard. We'll look into the details soon. On the front page of The Nation, unemployment pandemic. New data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics reveals an alarming trend. Despite thousands of new graduates entering the job market annually, nearly 3 million Kenyans continue to grapple with unemployment. The latest statistics released in April underscore the urgent need to address a mounting unemployment rate that is outpacing the growth of the labor force. All right. Azimio Kenya Kwanza first meeting set for Wednesday. The forgotten victims of attack, that's also on the front page, looking at today being the 7th of August, the memorial. And KICD loses books purchase role to an equipment agency. So KICD used to purchase the books that were used across schools, right? And then went for distribution. But apparently that role is no longer theirs. The Americans are having a little bit of sour grapes on the back page of The Nation, and they're saying it's a sick joke, dark comedy, as they bemoan their cup exit. Why is it a joke, man? People were not playing.
It was a sick joke, dark comedy.
Imagine, because we lost.
That's how they viewed it.
Yes.
Let me tell you what's on the Business Daily, the front page. Auditor reveals how Kenya Power inflates electricity bills. Kenya Power has been inflating electricity bills in what has seen consumers overcharged by up to 20% for power they did not use. This is according to the Auditor General. In a shocking revelation before the Parliamentary Committee, Auditor General Nancy Gadongo said a forensic review of generation, transmission and distribution of electricity found bills do not match actual consumption, while extra charges loaded on the consumers by the utility are not traceable in the billing system. Almost 20% of the bill to consumers cannot be matched to actual consumption. Neither can the distribution company attribute it to a specific consumer.
And that's okay. What?
Neither Kenya Power nor IPRA has sufficiently explained the anomaly. The audit found that there was a miscalculation of system losses, which is attributed to use of outdated study reports. Hold on, I'm turning the page. Page 2. Partial simulations and arithmetical errors. Gadongo, who was represented by her deputy, Stanley Mwangi, told the National Assembly Committee on Energy, probing the high cost of electricity in the country, that her office discovered cases of check meters lacking, faulty check meters, and discrepancies between the check meters and the main meters, leading to consumers being given bills that are not reflected in their meters. According to her, out of 96 generation plants supplying power to Kenya Power, only 38 had check meters. More shocking is that all the 38 meters were off-the-grid power stations. She also told MPs Kenya Power had no capacity to counter-check the invoices presented by the IPPs.
Sorry? I beg your highest.
There was a lack of primary access to the key indices which limited the ability of the IPPs and KPLC to independently verify authenticity of prices in the invoices where such indices were applied. The risk from lack of access to these key indices means KPLC is limited in its oversight role of ensuring the submitted invoices are correct. This audit identified system losses by Kenya Power as adding the greatest cost burden to consumers. So this whole thing basically is saying, we all know system losses are attributed to one of the things that Kenya Power says, losses, system losses, blah, 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 but it comes from even the billing. They are overcharging. So the auditor is looking at power generated, power transmitted, power received by Kenya Power, power billed by Kenya Power, money received by Kenya Power, and there's a discrepancy. Power generated, transmitted, you've been given, Kenya Power has been given the power, Kenya Power has distributed the power to the consumers, Kenya Power is billing consumers. How much you have given the consumers and how much you're billing, there's a 20% difference.
Excuse me. Please, I'm sorry.
Ask.
Don't be angry. When they say that they don't have capacity to check invoices from the independent power producer in English, what does that mean? They don't have personnel.
And even as Latiff answers this, you know that we are starting this conversation from a very disadvantaged point, especially because we had a sitting president ask us, munataka nifanye nini? You understand? So we are already okay with, even when you get to questions of capacity, it's okay, you can raise that and no one will ask you. We are an at least society. At least I am able to buy power. At least I have lights in my house. At least. So when you raise an issue of capacity, we hear it whichever way we want to hear it. At least we have power. So that's where you're starting from. Do even as Latiff once, prepares to answer your question.
I don't understand.
Oh man,
my thing is, you are starting from a point where we have normalized and we are very okay with every other shabby excuse we are given when something goes wrong. We don't question.
Like when the road has been done subpar in terms of quality.
We don't make too much noise. At least now we are able to access point B. So, and you even had a sitting president, and I'm using that, telling you, corruption is crazy right now, but munataka nifanye nini? What do you want me to do about it? And you are okay. There was nothing that happened. So even when you get to these particular state agencies or parastatals telling you we have issues of capacity, that's a viable excuse, and we'll receive more in these particular spaces, especially because no one will question. The question you're asking in terms of what does it mean, no one is asking.
Why is no one asking?
Why is nobody asking that question? And I don't understand. How do you say you don't have capacity to do what? To audit or to check the invoices of the independent power producers? What?
When you have budgetary allocations for audits,
they've got a couple of issues. So you see, it's the check meters. So you are getting power from IPPs. You're supposed to have a IPP will come and bill you from a meter. All right. Do you have a way of authenticating whether this is actually the power that you received? So those are the things. And the Auditor General is basically saying there are some instances where they did not have those check meters.
And it's okay.
No, it's not okay. That's why she's put it in her report.
No, but even the people who are answering when they said you don't have, for them, all this time, in terms of operation, those things don't exist. And it's okay for you to continue operation as though it doesn't matter.
Again, I go back to the consumer side, because I've had the same issue where you buy electricity and things look shabby or fishy, but you don't say much. At least I am able to afford. At least that comparative analysis where we keep saying it's worse for another person. So even by the time it gets to me, and there's some hitches that I've noticed, I feel like my voice is not good enough. So we get to this place where now we have issues and they're putting it in the report, and I kid you not, nothing will happen.
Yeah, because we will let it pass.
We do. We have a tendency of doing that. Yeah. I keep saying that time and again.
We will let it pass. And that's why it comes to a point of, if a report has been presented to Parliament and members of Parliament are even hearing verbatim from the Auditor General saying, yeah, this is what we found, our elected representatives, what should they do with that report? They should dig deeper. They should ask the questions, because that's the order of things. Ask the questions, summon Kenya Power, summon IPRA, summon all these people and ask them specific direct questions and say, this is what we have found.
And should you find that there's cause for concern,
and all of us should be putting heat under the bottoms of those elected representatives so that they can ask the right questions. But because we don't, let's take a break. 25 minutes to 7. How's the traffic? Wacha tuone. Okay, let's take a look at traffic.
It's building up on the Thika Superhighway. It's coming in heavy from Survey out towards the Pangani underpass. And then we'll get onto Murang'a Road with some of that traffic. We're looking at it heavy also on Manyanja Road, crossing over to Jogoo Road. Started early and it looks like it's going to continue. Juja Road is also looking busy, as is Kangunda Road. It looks like it will be a busy Monday morning. Into the CBD, we're looking at traffic on Uhuru Highway, then out towards Westlands in that general direction, and also inbound from Westlands on Uhuru Highway getting into the CBD. You're fine if you're on North Airport Road for now. It's likely going to pick up closer to 7 o'clock. And if you're on Langata Road, also make it into the city right now with no traffic. You'll get in without a problem. I'm not too sure about later though, so you might want to leave now. Spice FM KE on Twitter. Keep us aware of what's going on and let's keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 23 minutes to 7. You know, I hadn't finished the headlines in the Business Daily, so let me just tell you the other headlines. Small banks hit by liquidity crisis small banks hit by liquidity crisis turn to CBK for rescue. There are dozens of small banks. They are called Tier 3 banks. Now, because of the rising interest rates and all, those banks have no cash. Now they're going to central bank to at least get some
give us money.
Yeah. Okay. At least you need boost kidogo ndio niweze kupatia customer pesa. Takurudishia jioni. Yep, they're using those facilities. There's an instrument called the reverse repurchase agreement, term auction deposits, and CBK discount windows. So that's what they're using to at least stay afloat. Ticker headlines. Sugar barons to import 100,200 metric tons of sugar as state locks out local millers. The state has locked out public and private sugar millers from importing sugar. You know, it's likely to be well-connected sugar barons a new window to mint billions. So you are known sugar miller. You're told, no, you can't import. You don't know about sugar. This one is a trader. Isabella knows the trade, so she let her import. So we give Isabella the license to import the sugar. And you, sugar millers and both public and private, are told, simmefunga factory yenu, kaeni hivyo. Other ticker headline, banks cut entry-level salary to 50,000 in union deal. Banks are expected to expand their hiring after successfully negotiating with their workers' union lower entry-level salary in the industry to 50,000 shillings. The lower entry-level salary is expected to allow lenders to hire more workers at a lower cost. The other headline, Safaricom expert salaries increased to 4 billion shillings.
Wow.
The spending on expatriate staff salaries rose 271% to 4.59 billion shillings in the year ended March, signaling a rise in the number of senior employees drawn from the network of its ultimate parent firm, Vodafone Group PLC. Yeah. Now let's look at one key headline, one that you like. Isabella, is there one that you like?
Yes, one has tickled my fancy, and I think Ndu touched on it a little bit. And this is on Standard, I think, page 3, where the mystery of a mother's death at home discovered after 9 months. And let me read something that's interesting. An officer close to the investigation said that the last time a member of the family visited the octogenarian was last September. And he says that some of the family members had opted to stay away from Nyeri after she slipped into depression. So you decide to stay away from a person because they slipped into depression.
Who's the woman?
This is an old lady who was living by herself, who was a retired businesswoman. And apparently no one has seen her for the past 9 months, and it took a state agency, the DCI, to discover her body after 9 months and in her compound. So you're telling me no one was visiting this lady? Even the son...
So she is 80, she didn't have workers.
Didn't have workers.
She lived completely
alone. Apparently she had a dog and some chicken, which we don't know now where they are. And everyone else... Died.
How many children does she have?
Well, I haven't checked how many children she has, but my thing is, how is it possible for someone to go unattended to for 9 months? This is an elderly retired lady. Who has been supporting her? Who has been taking care of her? Does she take care of her needs? Because I'm seeing that she used to receive a monthly stipend of 20,000 from her son, but the same son is the one that says it's now a case of homicide and it is at DCI. Go to them when he was approached for further comments. I have very personal views on this one. And this is something that we have seen viral on the socials, where we are being told no one is coming to save you and that you have to do this life by yourself. And my thing is, you need a community. Genuinely, you need a community. If you go unnoticed for 9 months, that says a whole lot about the people that you've been surrounding yourself with. I'm thinking, that didn't she have friends? There was no nyumba kumi, there were no neighbors, there were no relatives. And you avoid someone, especially because I think pop culture has popularized this individualistic type of doing stuff to a point where now it's becoming something different. But this also would be a nice discussion when our investigative journalist comes through, especially because it's also a case of a person who's very elderly, right?
It's interesting.
Yes, quite interesting.
It is. I mean, we're looking at a case, interestingly enough, it was the Nyumba Kumi folks who spoke to DCI.
Right.
And raised essentially an alarm of sorts after her granddaughter had also come in and said, look, can't find her. Right?
Right.
There's a lot here.
There's many
this
things
woman
going
is
on
a
in this
retired
story.
teacher.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Her teacher is a social person.
Yes.
She's 80. If you look at the photo of this house, this is not a new house. These are homes that she's lived in for long. Somebody like this has neighbors.
Must have.
Okay.
You can tell.
Somebody like this who has neighbors also then participates, and this is not in an urban area like at, you say in Nairobi. This is in Thika. Someone like this participates in social events in the neighborhood. And that's why, in fact, the Nyumba Kumi person is saying the last time that she was seen, she had attended some event.
Right.
And then since then, she wasn't seen, and people had assumed maybe she had traveled or something. So there's something that had happened to her. And maybe what one of the sons is saying had got into a depression or something could lead to some of the answers.
I'm also seeing something to do with property. And every time property is a very emotive issue, especially in old age and grown-up kids. And so investigations have revealed that there were deep-seated family feud between the mother and the immediate family members, but I doubt that would warrant abandonment for 9 months, But anyway, this is an outsider's view.
Even if there's abandonment from the family, neighbors, I mean, you have a social network, especially for a woman. Women have social networks that are outside of immediate family. You've got friends, you've got neighbors, you've got church people. You have all these groups, chamas that you interact with.
Yeah.
And we're talking about none of them here being present.
None whatsoever.
So that you are dead for 9 months. And nobody
in your own compound.
Yeah.
In your own compound, because at that age is where you visit each other. That's where you chat. You're telling them this is what my grandson or my granddaughter is doing. But we are seeing none of that over here. And I was comparing it to us, the millennials, where we even carry it as a badge of honor to say, no, I don't have friends. I don't have friends. No new friends. You can't sit with us. I do this life thing by myself. And I wonder, is that cool? Is it a cool thing?
Well, clearly not.
It isn't.
End in death.
Never has been.
No.
Never has been.
This is a very bizarre one because she's not in that age. She belongs to a generation that is very, very communal. Very
heavily communal. And I think that's even how they did stuff, right? From acquisition of property to raising kids.
Yes.
And even just navigating the career space. This is a sad one.
Very
for
sad
sure.
story, this
very,
one.
Very sad.
Unfortunately, not better news on this unemployment pandemic, which is what we're being told the country is going through currently. It's also what's being called a ticking time bomb. And let's look at some numbers. 1.5%. By the end of 2022, Kenya had a labor force of 19.39 million, underlining a growth of 1.5% from the previous year. 2.97 million. At the start of 2023, unemployment stood at 2.97 million, a 3% increase from a year earlier. More than half of Kenyans without jobs, that's 1.59 million, were between 20 and 29. All right, start to make the linkages, underlining the growing crisis of youth unemployment. 77% over the 4 years to 2022. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data also shows that the youth population, which is about 77%, bears the heaviest brunt of the population that remains unemployed for more than a year. So you can imagine 77% of the population falls within the youth bracket. That's between 15 and 45 is what is the numbers that we're looking at now. Yeah. And for over a year, 35. Over a year, they've remained unemployed. Now, that doesn't mean it's just a year, but they've been able to look at the numbers in 12 months, remain unemployed. That doesn't mean that they were not unemployed before that, and it doesn't mean that they will not be unemployed after that. So these are actually worrying numbers. Hundreds of job seekers. This is a picture in 2015. Hundreds of job seekers gather at Bandari College in Mombasa after Kenya Ports Authority advertised for jobs on July 4th, 2015. And it's literally hundreds of people. How many times have we been told JSC, IEBC, wanting to fill 15 positions, wanting to fill 20 positions, and you have 800,000 applications. This is the problem that is being looked at here. Of course, does not mean that the people who are applying don't necessarily have jobs, but the unemployment burden is one that's being looked at. A few more details coming out from this story. Life of the hard knocks for youth caught up in crime. We're being told that a lot of youth getting into crime today are doing this because they're not employed. Inside the ticking time bomb, that's Kenya's jobs crisis, unemployment surged, we know this, during the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw 1.72 million workers laid off in 3 months to June 2022. Lockdowns and other COVID-19 related restrictions led to a spike in unemployment in 2020, with the largest increases among individuals below 35. So you can imagine your most productive percentage of the population is not employed, does not have something to do in their prime when they're able to work, when they're able to work multiple jobs, do not have anything to do. So there's a linkage here that's being made between lack of employment and crime. Okay? You can see it. It's clear. I mean, nobody would have to explain to you the reasons why. There's also been a sluggish economy, not as bullish as it was pre-COVID, and saying that these are some of the factors that then, created this huge hole where folks just cannot get a job. All right? So it's a problem today. And the big question is, what is going to be done about it? Is there enough in terms of a conducive environment or robust economic encouragement to have people become entrepreneurial? And even as you do that, have you created an environment where it's then easy for folks to do that? Is there access to credit? We know that in starting business, access to credit is the biggest bottleneck for a lot of folks trying to get into business. Now, if the bank's asking the central bank for money, where are the individuals who are going to look for money going to go?
It's crazy. And the unfortunate bit is that we have a leadership that seems to be focusing on squabbling and creating opportunities for themselves, right? And instead of thinking, all right, so how do we come together and argue, debate, and do everything about improving Kenya's economy? If the conversations are about how do we improve Kenya's economy, what's your idea? No, we don't like this idea. We think our idea is better. If that was a national conversation at present, then we'd be moving forward. But our national conversation is no. We need to look at creating a position. We need to create this position and the other. We need to entrench the position of prime cabinet secretary so that this person who is a billionaire can continue living off the largesse of state for the rest of their life.
While Kenyan graduates are writing papers for foreign students to make ends meet. Do you know that?
It's horrendous again, because even after you try your very best to even get into tertiary institutions, first, the school fees that you're slapped with are very discriminatory because not so many people can now even get to these tertiary institutions. So you fight your way through it. You know, you're done with school and you get here and you can't get any employment. And even when you try to be very entrepreneurial and all that stuff, you have the Finance Act now taxing you, all these things that you still can't pay for. You can't access credit. I wonder why we keep doing this, especially because we think that everyone will miraculously self-employ. And I know that this is something that not everyone can do. And so if we don't now start discussing issues of getting these people into the employment or labor force, then I kid you not, we'll talk about crime more and more. And now other things will keep coming up. Issues of terrorism, right? Because we are having a guest who's going to come and talk about that. Issues of extreme, violent extremism. We'll have issues of now opportunistic crimes.
But look at what happened last week, Isabella.
Yes.
Last week, it didn't take an hour for Kenyans to know that, whoa, there's somebody who's giving 7K because they want to take a picture of your eye.
Let's go. Let's go. And you can imagine.
Question. No, who are they?
It's 7,000.
Let's move. Do you think this 7,000 was going to people who have a job or a business that's doing something for them? No,
because you had all day to line up. There were thousands of people. They didn't even know what Walcon was about. If they're data harvesting, any repercussions or consequences, please give me the 7,000.
Not thinking about it. Do what you want to do. But I'm not thinking about it. Today, people are saying, how can Kenyan graduates be writing term papers for students in other countries? What are you talking about?
That's a job.
That's a job.
That's a proper paying job, actually.
It's a job. I'm sitting at home. Call it what you want to call it. But you know what? I'm not on the street. I'm not begging anybody for food. And I went to school. At least let me use the brain that I have to
and let me make something.
I don't have a job.
You don't have a job.
So what are we talking about? So I agree. Actually, a lot of times I see these headlines and I think they're alarmist, but this one is not. It is a ticking time bomb. It is
a ticking time bomb. And I think sometimes Kenyans need shock therapy. You have to have such headlines for them to see, hey, we are in the red zone already. But I doubt, I think all of us are just trying to make a living and get by. So even when we're in the red zone, we really don't realize it until something happens.
But unfortunately, we just sit back and we're cheering on. Look, so we participate in a democracy, and that's why you could also see some 12 million people who are eligible not even participating in that election process, because they're wondering, so what? But then it's about showing them why the so what is important and how it connects to everything that's happening. If the people, 300 plus who are in parliament, were actually focusing on the right things, we'd be having the right conversations. We'll be talking today about, so there's a plan and there's money that's been allocated in a budget to create these things called the county aggregation and industrial parks. What are those and how can they benefit us? Because if you actually think about those industrial parks, if they worked, they'd employ many people. If you're talking about working on those value chains, they'd employ people. If you're talking about this hustler fund that's been there for a while, has anybody asked the question, so this hustler fund, how do we access it? How do people take advantage of it? How is it working? Has anybody in Parliament asked those questions and asked them properly and gotten the right answers?
No.
Have we demanded that this thing is actually explained constantly by people? Because all this is money that's been set aside, 15 billion shillings into Hustler Fund, 40 billion shillings into industrial parks. I don't know how many billion shillings into this housing. Now we are being deducted money. Those who are in formal employment are paying for this housing levy. Where are the houses? How many people are being employed? If our parliamentarians were asking the right questions, we'd be getting there. No, what they're talking about is we are going to first hold our meeting on Wednesday. President William Ruto and Azimio's One Kenya Raila Odinga dialogue teams have agreed to meet on Wednesday, and they're locking horns on the timelines and the subject of what they'll be discussing. The subject, Prime Minister position, official opposition position, IEBC.
Isn't it interesting that the key squabbles was the venue and the time?
Imagine.
Venue and time, possibly even what we'd have as a snack or a meal and what time we leave, and maybe even some sitting allowances. I don't know. But if that's the key discussion that you're thinking about and even putting out in the media, who even then has faith in the discussions that you're going to have? You've already shown us that we are not even part of the agenda. We're not. All you're telling us is that we are clear that we will not do mkate nusu or handshake. But you're speaking to people who can't even make $1 a day.
Sisi tunataka slice.
Yeah.
Surely.
Si nusu, slice tu ya mkate. Then you Robert Boy, the Deputy Minority Leader, will be joining us at 7 a.m. We'll pose some of these questions to him and ask, okay, so what exactly you're talking about? Still riding on that story that Ndu you've just read, and talking about the other story that's in the papers, Kenyan graduates writing papers for foreign students to make ends meet. It's a big business. We've talked about this on this show before.
Yes, we have.
And I think, and even when the ICTCS, Eliud Owalo and his PS were here, they've talked about their platform. What's it called? Ajira. The Ajira platform. How many people are on the Ajira platform? How many people know about the Ajira platform?
Who has it worked for? I just need one person even to comment on the socials and tell us that this is what I did, these are the steps, and this is how long it took for me to see some benefit from this particular platform.
I've actually met people who have been on Ajira and it works, all right?
Yeah.
So Ajira, you go in there, you find a job, you do the job from wherever you are and you get paid. It's just the same way that these are the platforms for online jobs work.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But can you imagine if it was well structured and enhanced? Because this is what you need. Make it well structured, make it enhanced. All these opportunities. So the Chancellor of Germany comes here and says, you know what, we need people to come and work in our country. UK government comes and signs a deal with Kenya, you know, we need people to come and work in our country.
Yeah.
Canadians come here and they say, you know, guys, we need people to come and work in our country. And we're talking about how many people who are not employed? And we have a National Employment Authority that should have a database of people and they should be coordinating for this.
And so we're clear. About what exactly it entails for someone to even do this online writing. There's so much. I know that there are small groups that have organized themselves, say on Facebook. They have to train each other. They have to buy and pay for accounts. They have to have VPN. It's tedious. It's a lot of work. So for us to even have an undertone of, oh, you're just writing as if it's something very disgusting and bad and something to abhor. There's lots of work that goes into this, and people have generated proper revenue and even supported their families. I know of people who own properties from this particular thing. And I know people who've had now a space that they have taken up and even offered employment to other people. Right? They've trained them, if it's transcription, if it's... And I'm speaking because at some point in my life, I got caught up in that particular space. It's just that, you know, when you go in and say, oh, I'm already a lawyer, and they say, so why are you here? They even expect that they'd give it to someone else. So even when we're discussing this particular space, I think it's nice to acknowledge that there's so much more that goes into this, and it's actually a legitimate space. And if someone would want to have a conversation with this particular people and say, hey, you've been doing this for 15 years now, could we have you maybe as a small technical team and we enhance Ajira and make this work from this space? I think that would be very helpful.
We talk about business process outsourcing in this country, and we say, you know, Kenya should be the premier BPO hub for the world because of where we are, our geolocation. We are just a few hours away from the rest of the world. We can work 24 hours a day. We speak good English. This is it. This is BPO.
Right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is BPO. And how many of those do we have? We established just a few call centers and that thing died. We have the ones, the moderators for social media platforms like Facebook, the ones that are based here. They have issues, but there's so many opportunities. We're talking about AI, going AI now. AI is about teaching the machine. The machine does not learn from nothing. It learns from something. We have the capacity to teach the global AI. And here we are. We just, to find handshake, whatever agreement you come up with, it's going to be a handshake.
It has to be.
These are semantics.
Has to be.
These are semantics. What does a handshake signify? Agreement.
Yes.
Unless Raila is saying we are not going to have an agreement. Saying that we are not going to have a handshake.
Okay.
It's just our stories. Anyway, keep it here for more conversations. Coming up in the next hour, we'll be joined by the Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly, the MP for Kathiani constituency. Our guest host today is Isabella Obara. She is an advocate. Are you an advocate of the High Court or are you just a lawyer?
I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
Very good.
Call to the bar.
Yeah, well.
If you may add commissioner of oaths.
Hey.
You know.
Sasa hiyo ingine tu ndio bado.
Hiyo ingine tu ndio bado. Notary.
7 a.m. Time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The country today commemorates 25 years since the 1998 bombing of the US Embassy in Nairobi. Today, August 7th, 2023, Kenya marks the 25th anniversary of the bomb blast tragedy that shook the nation. The truck bomb exploded outside the US Embassy in Nairobi in 1998 at around 10:30 a.m., leaving hundreds dead and over 4,000 injured. Even as the country commemorates the day, victims are yet to be compensated. On August 5th, 2023, a Senate ad hoc committee joined the survivors for a prayer session at the Memorial Park as compensation is being pushed. For the past quarter of a century, the victims have knocked on every door pursuing compensation by the American government, but their plea has been ignored. Today, we remember Kenyans who lost their lives and those who were injured during the bomb blast. Now, President William Ruto is expected to continue this tour of Mount Kenya for the third day in a row. He's scheduled to visit and launch several projects in Nyeri County. President will launch the Ichamara Rutune Road, the Kaigonji Water Project in Tetu, and the Othaya Water Project. He will later inaugurate the Nyeri Town Bus Station before holding a meeting with the governors of the area at the Sagana State Lodge.
Napenda kuwaeleza ya kwamba we have stabilized the economy of the Republic of Kenya. Tumehakikisha ya kwamba mambo ya kukopa madeni kulia, kushoto, mbele na nyuma na juu na chini tumekomesha. Katika budget tuliyopeleka bunge, nilimwambia huyu kijana Ndindi Nyoro, kwa sababu yeye ndio chairman wetu wa budget, nikamwambia hakuna budget itaenda kupelekwa bunge ya madeni. Tukaondoa madeni karibu nusu trilioni ambayo ilikuwa imewekwa huko, tukaondoa. Tukasema we must build this country on the solid foundation, not on the foundation of debt.
And opposition leader Raila Odinga has blamed President William Ruto for the high cost of living, attributing it to rampant corruption and negative ethnicity under his government. Speaking in Nyamira County, the Azimio leader, One Kenya coalition leader, claimed the increase in prices of commodities such as flour and sugar is due to questionable dealings among members of President Ruto's inner circle who own businesses in the sectors. He also added that the cost of fertilizer has gone down because the government was given fertilizer for free by Russia, but the government has sold the same fertilizer to farmers.
Sasa wanauza kwa shilingi 2,500 kwa kila gunia, lakini hiyo mbolea walipewa bure. Ilikuwa inatakikana wapewe Kenya bure. Sio Raila nasema, Rais Putin Yorusi ndiye alisema wiki jana ati alipatia Kenya mbolea ya bure. Kenya na Malawi anauza hiyo mbolea, anadanganya wa Kenya kwamba amerudisha bei ya mbolea chini.
Odinga says that Kenyans should not expect the Kenya Kwanza government to address their plight as its leadership style does not inspire any hope.
Ufisadi imejaa katika hii serikali. Mimi naongea kama mtu ambaye ameshaondesha serikali. Nimekuwa waziri mkuu kwa miaka 5. Na tulianza na Kibaki, kwa jumla tumefanya miaka 10. Na tukarekebisha uchumi. Uchumi hii hata Ruto akae miaka 100 hawezi kurekebika. Vile wanafanya kazi.
And Senate Speaker Amason Kingi has poured cold water on Azimio la Umoja coalition agenda on lowering the cost of living through bipartisan talks, saying it's an exercise in futility. Kingi stated that the dialogue between the two opposing sides will yield nothing for Kenyans given the laid out agenda by the opposition coalition.
Ndugu yangu Ichungwa amepatiwa jukumu la kuchuana na wale wengine. Your Excellency, I don't want to be a prophet of doom. I've never been. But I've been in this space long enough to observe something. Nothing will come out of these cold talks. But something will come out from this plan that the president has. Look at the issues that are supposed to be discussed. IBC, the Office of the Official Opposition, 2/3 gender rule. If you ask the president, he'll tell you. Immediately on sworn in, he wrote a memorandum to the two speakers, me and my brother Wetangula here. And those are the very same issues that are now pending in both houses of parliament.
He stated that the issues that have been highlighted are before the National Assembly and the Senate, and that there is no need of spending taxpayers' money over issues that can be handled by the relevant bodies.
So then, why should this become an agenda of discussion outside Parliament? We are already fixing them. We are fixing IBC. In fact, in the Senate, there is a pending bill on the issue of the 2/3 gender rule. Do we need people to sit somewhere using taxpayers' money to discuss something that members of Parliament are already seized of?
I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
A little bit busier at a few minutes after 7 o'clock into the CBD, whether you're coming in from Jogoo Road through Kamkunji or on Gong Road, then touching on Haile Selassie. That is busy. As you're also coming in from the Thika Superhighway, it has become significantly busier since 6 a.m. At the junction from GSU, it's heavy all the way through towards the Pangani underpass. The service lanes will do you well. You might want to use them. Also, Kiambu Road has started to do the thing right about now, and it's also looking busy coming in from Limuru Road. On Wayaki Way, traffic coming in through towards Westlands is pretty busy right about now as well. And we're looking at Jogoo Road. That started off busy. It looks like it will continue for some time. And there it is. North Airport Road likely to get busier from what we see right now. Monday morning officially starts in a short while in terms of traffic. Want to keep things moving as much as we can. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start
into
your
August,
day.
the 7th day of August 2023. Welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room this lovely Monday morning. How are you doing? We're live on Spice FM, on KTN Home. We're live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook every weekday morning. It's Eric Latiff. Ndu Okoh. C.T. Muga has gone to buy new batteries so he can come in fully recharged. And we therefore have a guest host today. Her name is Isabella Obara. She's an advocate of the High Court and Commissioner of Oaths.
Yes. Thank you, Latiff.
Yeah. Isabella, it's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, you know about it.
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I do.
So we are doing our 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon on the 29th of October. It's going to be a Sunday. So what we need you to do is start preparing for it.
Mm-hmm.
Go to nairobimarathon.com, register, pay only 2,000 shillings.
Right.
Okay?
Yes.
It is not much, 2,000 bob. Register, start preparing.
Okay.
Come the 29th of October, we will be running along the Southern Bypass. Flag off is at Uhuru Gardens, and then the finish line is also at Uhuru Gardens.
Okay.
Go with your medal, but also the pride of participating in the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
It's the largest single-day athletics event in this country, and it's back.
Okay.
And of course, you know, it also takes place in some parts of the country, the physical race, and there's a virtual run that is held in the week leading up to this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
It's a virtual race. So you just register as well and participate in this. It's very, very important. Ndu,
Yeah.
it's also holiday season.
Yes, it is. And everyone's favorite chipmunks, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore, are back with a fantastic new season of the classic animated series, Alvin and the Chipmunks. So you wonder for who? Well, for all the children who are on a holiday. They are the famous rock stars who tour the world with their best friends. And the new season started a couple of days ago. It's on Nickelodeon, DSTV channel 305. Open your kids to this wonderful world on DSTV to get this and much more in world-class kids content from over 15 dedicated channels. Feel all the adventure and fun exclusively with DSTV. Dial star 423# or download my DSTV app to get a DSTV decoder with 1 month of family for just 2,999 shillings.
Our next guest is the Honourable Robert Mboi. He is the MP for Kadiani constituency, Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Morning, Eric, and thank you for having me.
Good to have you back in the studio. Today, because City is away, you are representing City in fashion.
Looks like it was by design.
You are the City. Tukupatia tu ndevu ya white kidogo namna hii.
Yeah, and it's there.
And a couple of glasses. And you're in. Karibu sana, good to have you.
Asante.
We've introduced you to Isabella, our guest host for today. I have the day's proverb. Today's proverb is from the Songhai people. These are the people who are found in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. It's an ethnic tribe. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. It's a unique dish reserved for special occasions. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. What do you think?
Well, I think it's an interesting one. But it just reminds me that even in our community, the cooked head of the sheep is what is eaten by the wazee. And it's eaten the next day after any celebrations, where they can be doing post-mortem and discuss how things turned out, how things went. So I don't know. I would look at it in the context of our own region. Yes.
And what's your interpretation of it?
I don't know. I don't know, but
it's like the cooked head of a sheep.
Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep.
If cooked well, a person will eat it.
So if cooked badly, no one will eat it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you talk about confidence and cooked head. That when a head is cooked, it's already dead. So maybe you have to be careful. The amount of confidence you take out there, that you don't become overconfident. Maybe that's what it means, because when you talk about cooked, that's dead already. It can be about the taste.
How you present yourself, the kind of confidence that you have, will determine how people take you.
Possibly, yeah.
It's
complicated.
If your confidence is cooked well, people will eat it.
Indeed.
Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Asante.
A lot's happening. We've heard it just right now in the news. I mean, issues of these talks. So the first bipartisan talks, those ones have flopped. They failed. Let's move on. Forget about it. They ate tea and mandazi. We don't know who paid. It's okay. Just forget it. Now we have a new round of talks. And this new round of talks is where your party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, who's heading the Azimio side of the new talks, has written to Kimani Ichung'wah, who's heading the other side, and he said, can we meet on Wednesday? What is expected to come out of these talks?
Latiff, I think it's very clear from our side as Azimio that we've had issues with the way the country is being governed. And we've also had issues probably with the question of the last election. Just very basic things. And we just want answers, and we want to find a way forward so that we can forge ahead as a country. So what we want to achieve is the rights of our people to be respected. And the rights of our people, basically, they've been trampled on by the regime. Rights to picket, demonstrate when they are unhappy. The rights to Article 43 of the Constitution talks about economic and social rights. And that is the one we are dealing with, which is the cost of living. Those are things that are really important to our people, because after during the campaigns, we both sides promised heaven on earth. And after the elections, one team was announced winner and has taken up office, and we tend to feel that the people are disgruntled. Our people are disgruntled. It's a real issue, by the way, the issue of cost of living. It's a real problem. As a people's representative, every time you go to the village, the kind of poverty that you see, the kind of desperation, it's very painful. So we've said, let us put the agenda of our people's problems on the table, so that we can see whether they can be addressed. How can we get together and agree on a few basic things on what can we do? And I've had people say this thing of cost of living is a hoax. I'll say this: there is a problem, even probably internationally, of the economy. But more importantly, you must realize that when people are hard hit, I used to be a boxer when I was in the university. And one thing you know is that as a boxer, if you punch someone and they fall, you don't hit them when they're on the ground. You don't kick them and trample on them. Kenyans are already hard hit by the harsh economic conditions that we are living through. People can barely put even a plate of food on the table for their families. And during such times, you introduce two things. One, you reduce the disposable income, which is the money that people have to be able to spend by reducing their salaries, by overtaxing them. When you tax pay as you earn at 35%, that means somebody has already lost 5% of their salary on a monthly basis. That reduces the amount of money they have. When you tax people 1.5% for houses, that already reduces their disposable income. When you increase the amount of savings, and my people have been telling me, why would you want to save for us when we are old and we have no money now to eat? How will we get old if we don't eat? We will die now. So you increase the amount of money that people have to save so that they can consume that much later. But right now they're having problems. Then I know there is also an intention to increase NHIF. So people's disposable income reduces. And we are talking about maybe the lowest earning Kenyans who probably lose about 5,000 shillings. And of course it's more for the people who earn more. Now, go to the other side, which is the expenditure side. You already have less money. Now, when you come to buying basic goods and services, the prices of all these basic goods and services are going up because of the new tax regime. You increase the cost of fuel. That is an issue of production. That is one of the costs of production. So the electricity prices go up. Production in all factories goes up. You had the Kenya Association of Manufacturers said expect a 9% increase in the cost of all their products. Transport goes up. And when transport goes up, they said expect about 30% increase in transport because there's also, advanced taxes that have been charged. The other day, they were attempting to take all the drivers back for, further tests, which cost money. So at the end of the day, people have less money and they are buying goods for more.
Yeah.
And so it's hurting them. And we are saying, why can't we sit and have a conversation? Let us hear your opinion and let us see, can we strike a balance? So it is a real issue, I can tell you. It's a real issue for our people. And because we were also elected, the same way Kenya Kwanza leaders were elected. And by the way, let me just say this. It doesn't, you're not more special because you are elected in a certain office. Whether you are elected as MCA, as MP, as women rep, as senator, as governor, or as president, it is the same voice of the people that put you in that office. And no position is to be demeaned. They're all elective positions. So listen to the voices of those that elected you. So when I say the people of Kadhiani are hurting, I expect the Kenya Kwanza regime to listen to me and agree that we sit at the table and converse around the issues. What can we do?
Okay. Mwashima, even as you say these things, you don't have to convince anybody that is the situation. No matter how political we want to be, we know. We've talked this last hour even about the situation that we see in Kenya today. I don't think anybody can deny that it is a real issue. The question is it the issue that will be discussed, and will it actually yield a result? If the people of Kadhiani, for example, know that you are in the forefront, can they be guaranteed that this conversation that is going to be had is actually going to take those things into consideration? Can they go and hope and pray for however long these talks are going to take place, a month, 2 months, whatever, that once you are done with that the answer will be solutions to these things that you spiritedly presented just now? Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Is that a guarantee? Will that actually be discussed? Is it them? Is it them that are being prioritized in these talks?
Yes. Let me begin. To answer that, let me first allay the fears that everyone has. I can see Eric looking at me very suspiciously. I can almost preempt what he'll ask next. The reality is that Kenyans have reached this point of imagining that Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya, wants to be part of the government of Kenya Kwanza. And let me just begin by saying it is not even possible, so that we can move from that conversation, because that's why people imagine that what we have put on the table is not what we want. I've had that conversation. I've had the leader of majority has, he said it several times. He said, when they talk about inclusivity, they mean that we share government. The fact is government is made up of the president and the deputy president. And unless we are going to another election, those positions are already occupied. Now, the other one is the cabinet. The cabinet is already, in fact, overbloated. It's even, I think, an issue in court, because there are people that are not even meant to be part of that cabinet that are already part of it. So already those spaces are already filled. And I can tell you, there is no way my party leader is going to sit in that cabinet, or Raila Amolo Odinga to sit in that cabinet. So that's already out of the table. So every time they keep saying that, you want to be part of this government, it surprises me, because what position would we occupy in their government? So for me, the real issues are that we had promises we made to our people. They made promises to their people. They are the ones in power now, and the people are suffering. And William Ruto said that he wants a very strong opposition. A strong opposition is the one that puts a government in check. We are telling him, you promised heaven on earth. People are suffering. People are in trouble. People cannot afford basic things. So what are you doing about it? What can you do about it? And we have to also show our people that we know their problems and we are speaking for them. So that's what we are taking to the table, to tell them we want to be an efficient opposition. We want you to do certain things to make sure that the lives of our people are better. And that's basically it. So the fact remains that before we discuss anything else, the issue of cost of living must be talked about. But let me say, on the part that I've just mentioned, the leader of majority, and I'm not mentioning him individually as an individual, but I'm talking about what he said, which is in public domain. He said that we want to be part of government because we have put as one of the conditions inclusivity. Now, inclusivity is actually one of in the values and principles, which is in Article 10 of the Constitution. Inclusivity is one of them. It is very clear, and inclusivity means that the government must encompass every region, every ethnic group, and every even gender. So all that is part of inclusivity. You cannot form a government, excuse me, and tell us our government is a company limited by shares. And the shares are the votes that we got from your region. That's unconstitutional. So we are saying you must retract some of these things, because the people of Kadhiani, those who support Azimio, may not necessarily be part of your government, but the people of Kadhiani are meant to be part of Kenya. And so therefore, the services, the jobs, job opportunities, and development agenda must be spread across the country. That's what we are saying when we talk about inclusivity. So the problem is that...
so that's in government projects, not necessarily in government appointments.
Let me tell you, Latiff, even in government appointments, you cannot become president and appoint people from your ethnic community alone. The Constitution is clear. Again, Article 10, values and principles of good governance that bind every state officer, including the president. When you are in office, you must spread out these opportunities. You cannot take people from your community, make them PSs at the expense of the rest of Kenyans. So that's what we are talking about.
Mheshimiwa, that brings me to a very pertinent point, because we are discussing the agenda in terms of what the bipartisan talks will be discussing. There's a human rights question that comes up, especially because these bipartisan talks have been preceded by maandamano. Yeah, the Independent Medical Legal Unit is a non-governmental organization that works around prevention and response of torture and related violations. And I'll have you know this, that most of the torture violations always happen around protests. Yeah, so I'm hearing a very protracted discussion around the agenda, but I'm not hearing anything to do with the human rights questions that have come up during this particular piece. There's a family in Vihiga that will bury 2 of their sons as a result of the protests. Are we just saying that we'll talk about issues of inclusivity and every other thing and let out issues of the human rights questions that have come up? Because it is very pertinent for us then to tell everyone else that maandamano is not a bad thing, and that we will not have punitive policing around this particular space. So even as we discuss, I think that clarification will be very, very important to know if it is one of the key agendas in the upcoming bipartisan talks.
Yeah, thank you, Isabella. The reality is that I've only mentioned two of the agendas that we have on the table.
Right.
That's also one of them.
Yes.
The issue of police brutality. And maybe I should mention this. In 2017, after the last election, when Raila Amolo Odinga was coming from, I think, either Germany or Denmark, and he had said he wants to address his supporters in Uhuru Park. When he landed at the airport, the police were stopping his supporters from joining him on that tour, and also for the meeting in Uhuru Park. I was part of that convoy. And in the process, the police shot me and broke my leg. I was admitted in Nairobi hospital for a while. Up to now, I still have a metal frame between my knee and my ankle on my left leg. Up to now.
Oh, wow.
I walk with a slight limp. I can't run. Now, that is police brutality. When the police were sent to attack us, I broke no law. You see, the Constitution, Article 37, is very clear. And it says, if you're peaceful, I was peaceful because I was in my car.
Right.
I knocked nobody. I insulted nobody. I had no weapon. And you have to also be unarmed. I was unarmed. I walked out of my car and the policeman shot me. I rolled off the road into a ditch. He was chasing me to shoot me when I was in the ditch. But the cameras, media cameras, and by the way, I love media because my media saved my life. Media cameras came, because I could see someone rolling into a ditch.
Right.
And the policeman who had shot me now turned and walked away because he couldn't shoot me now with the full glare of media. Now, if you ask what crime I committed, if you ask that policeman, I wish one day I would meet him because he knows me and he knows he almost killed me. He knows me. He can even come to Parliament and say, I want to see the honorable member for Kadhiani. He has never done that. I don't know him myself. Right. I just saw someone in uniform, and I think it was obviously a policeman because they were all police. But, at the end of the day, what law did I break? None. What mistake did I make to belong to then NASA coalition? What was my crime? To attempt to go to Uhuru Park, which is a public place, and listen to my leader.
Right.
Was I armed? No. Was I peaceful? Yes. But they almost killed me. Now, that's the fate of all these Kenyans that have been killed, completely because of their political ideology. And the Constitution also allows political rights.
It does.
So
what would you like to see?
I would like to see all those policemen that killed innocent Kenyans, not even now, just this time, even the previous time, even those ones who shot me. I think those people should be brought to book. But no regime has ever castigated, even the regime before. No regime castigates this.
Why?
Because when you're in power, you want to crush your enemies completely.
But
that's where all the problem is. And your enemies, your perceived enemies,
don't really think much about those that are below.
Yes. What happens?
Those that end up being killed. We talk about Baby Pendo all the time, and Baby Pendo has become like the poster figure for demonstrations of what happens to the innocent.
Yes.
The complete innocent people who are shot.
Yeah.
When your leaders shook hands in 2018 with those in power then, you had 5 years of goodwill with the government. Did you push for justice for such people as Baby Pendo and the others for post-election violence of 2007? Such that now we can trust that on Wednesday when you sit, you'll actually push for justice for this family in Vihiga that has lost 2 sons and the very many others, the young boy in Amali and others who were shot, innocent bystanders shot.
Eric, what happened is that after the handshake, personally, I was very relieved because we had come from the brink of almost a civil war. It was a very bad situation, and I was a victim. I was very happy that there was a handshake because for me it signified peace and a kind of a truce. And so I felt relieved. And I remember in a function where I spoke and my party leader was there, the Right Honorable Raila was there, the former president was there, the deputy president, then who's current president was there. And I said, one of the things I'm happy about, because you remember there was a story about River Jordan and the sharks. I mean, not sharks, actually crocodiles. I said, I am a victim. I have confirmed that there were crocodiles because I put my foot and I was bitten. My leg was bitten by a crocodile. And I said, I am happy that when I saw the handshake between Raila and Uhuru, it signifies to me that no one else will ever have to be bitten by a crocodile going into the future. Because I felt that now when we do this handshake, we are talking about when we finish an election, we accept and we move on together. Whether you're in opposition or in government, there's some kind of agreement on how we can work together. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the case because
you swept things under the carpet. That is what happened. You did not address the issues that you were raising then, that Raila wanted to address at Uhuru Park, were about election justice, electoral justice. 5 years, it was not discussed. They were not settled. The issues of justice for post-election violence, justice for 2017, justice and pursuit of justice, and even completion of police reforms were never discussed. When the minority had the goodwill of working very well with the minority did not pursue these things that you say are the things that you represent, the people agenda. You had an opportunity for the people's agenda for just until August last year. You never pursued it. Why should we trust you now that your people's agenda this time is actually genuine?
Eric, I'll tell you that in the Building Bridges initiative, because that was what brought together, the document that was brought together by these two leaders when they got to shake hands. If every one of those items in the Building Bridges, because Building Bridges was bringing together Kenyans, if every one of those things were passed and accepted and not thrown away by the court, we probably would be having a better country. But I see now you can see part of what the agenda that is being brought on the table by the other side is introduction of offices like the office of the leader of opposition. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you what the problem is. In this country, where winner takes all. And the loser has to go completely away. And when a country is divided, it's not like a constituency. A country is big and it has different. And you know, our political voting patterns, unfortunately, are still ethnic based. Why is it in Rift Valley, Ruto is the best person to be president? Yet when you go to Lower Eastern, Ukambani, Raila is the best person to be president. Yet you know, these both of them have their strengths and their weaknesses. Is it that one region just sees their strength and the weakness of the other? No. It's because this community is aligned in this manner. That is how we vote as a country. So because of that, because of that, it is important that whoever is not president but had almost half the country. I mean, you're talking about this presidential race goes to about 50% because you need to get 50 plus 1. Yeah. And your runner-up is at 49 point something. That means that they have half the country, There must be a way by which the person who is number 2 is somehow accommodated. It doesn't have to be accommodated in government. But that's how we said the position. And that was one of the Building Bridges initiative, that there be an office of the opposition. So some of these things would have been sorted out had that thing gone through and also been passed by the courts. Unfortunately, the same team in office, which is propagating the same ideals, are the ones that opposed it at that time. They're the ones who took it to court. They're the ones who opposed it on the floor of the House.
I want us to take a break. Time for a break. 27 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation is hosting Robert Mboi. He's the Honourable Member for Kathiani constituency and Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly. He's here today because we're talking about what we expect out of these talks that will be held soon. His party leader, Kalonzo Musyoka, is leading the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition 5-member team that's going to be meeting with the Kimani Ichung'wah-led side on the other side. What will they be discussing? What should we expect out of it? Mheshimiwa, Kathiani constituency, have you identified an area where the affordable housing project is going to take place?
Either we have some land that is at the Kathiani headquarters, district headquarters, that is always available for any development. So we would be able to put them up there. But I'm just wondering who will buy those houses in the rural area.
You go and find out from the people. And you go and tell them if they can tell you that they can buy houses, they should register on bomayangu.go.ke, because that's how you get to participate in the affordable housing project. The government says 290 constituencies we are going to see affordable housing units coming up in all these urban areas. Kathiani is the district headquarter. It's big, right? It's big. Urban.
It's big. Latiff, if you build a house in Nairobi and you don't live in it, you can rent it for 30,000, 40,000. if you build it in Kadhiani and you don't use it, then if you attempt to rent it to the teachers of our schools there or the doctors, then you'll probably be getting 3,000 or 4,000.
Right.
It will take you like 50, 60, 70 years to pay back the amount of money that house costs you. So it may work in a city, but
there's some areas where it may work.
Yes, because of the rental income. Because if I work in Nairobi and you give me a house in Kadhiani, how do I go live in Kadhiani, work in the city? The whole concept, I think, was a little warped. I opposed it from the beginning, so I'm still opposing it, but now it's part of law.
Okay. Okay. bomayangu.go.ke is where you register for the areas that you'd like to participate in the affordable housing project, or you can dial *832#. Back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 12, highs of 21. We'll see highs of 26. In a sunny Nakuru at 13, and it's 13 and sunny as well in Nyeri, highs of 21. 23 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 14, and it's sunny at 22 in Mombasa, going to highs of 29. Malindi will go to highs of 28 today. It's sunny at 24. It's sunny at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 29, and 28 will be the high in a sunny Kakamega at 17. It's 20 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 29 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 24. 6 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and it'll go to highs of 29. In a mostly cloudy Lagos at 25, it's 19 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 32, down to lows of 19. Busy on Jogo Road this morning, significantly busier than earlier, and we're also seeing that spill over towards Landis, getting into the city. There's incoming traffic from Gong Road. It's all going to pile up on Haile Selassie and move slowly then into the CBD. Uhuru Highway is also quite busy coming in from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. On from Mombasa Road is not too bad until you get to that Nyayo Stadium. Let's look at Langata Road. It's also piling up. We're having some traffic coming in from Magadi Road, that's spilling over towards Langata Road, and so we're in traffic hour proper this morning. Looking at the other side of things, it's busy on Manyanja, it's busy on Kangundo and Juja Road as well, all coming in towards Muranga Road. Keep an eye on things, guys, and let's keep Monday sane. Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
Use your hosts this morning in the Situation Room, Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, and Isabella Obara, our guest host. Our guests, the Honourable Robert Mbui, MP Kadhiani, Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly. Isabella, you had a question.
Yes, I did. And just, first of all, Mheshimiwa, my sincerest apologies that you are actually a victim of torture. It's not something that, someone would infer, but just, again, to bring you back, because you are able to access these particular rooms where you have discussions around human rights issues, and you now clearly see the nexus between politics and security. Yeah, is it something that you can actually confirm to this particular team here and even the nation at large, because they're listening, that it's going to be a priority for your discussion? I know we've gone into your experience and what it is that felt like, but what does it look like for the person who's somewhere where they can't access reparations or effective remedy, or even just get an advocate to tell them that indeed this was torture and you're supposed to get this and this, or even go to court? Are you able to actually affirm and confirm that you're going to prioritize this, especially in terms of effective remedy? There's so many people crying. There's so many people looking at you, especially in this particular space of the bipartisan talks, that something will genuinely come out of them.
Yeah, thank you, Isabella. Yes, something positive will come out of them, because the person that we have named as leader for our team is an astute negotiator and a person who's been a peacemaker, renowned actually internationally, our party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. So I think we have the right person who can help bring all those issues on the table and make sure that each of these issues is concluded amicably, for the benefit of our people. Unfortunately, and I also have to just mention, we've had the other side. And it's unfortunate when it starts from the aspect where we cannot even seem to agree on the time, on a venue. And in fact, the agenda now becomes second fiddle, because if we can't even agree on the time and the venue, that's already a problem. And politicians are very big egos, Latiff. Huge egos. And the biggest problem we are facing is just the ego problem. Because if one of the parties has already proposed, let's meet on this day, we start our conversations. But the other party has already indicated, no, now because you proposed this day and this venue and this time, I will change it so that you come at my terms. What kind of country are we trying to run in that manner? And let me say, you've had immediately after we formed the bipartisan teams to start the talks. Unfortunately, the president himself, his deputy and his cabinet and all the members from his side, including the speakers of the two houses, start a tour. And the agenda is the talks and saying, no, we shall not do a handshake. When they talk about it, let me just simplify this for them, because sometimes I hope they are watching. Because what is a handshake? Because last time when Uhuru and Raila shook hands, the country saw peace. Yes, it's unfortunate that the opposition was kind of muzzled. We don't want that to ever happen again. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think the opposition should go to bed with the government. I don't think that's right. But then, what is a handshake really? A handshake first is a greeting. I expect that my party leader, when he goes to meet the team from Kenya Kwanza, he will greet them. He will greet
by shaking hands.
Yes, he will greet the Honorable Ishungwa and the team. He will greet them. That's a handshake. I expect that because they're saying there will be no handshake. I'm expecting that there will be an agreement. Again, a handshake is a sign of agreement. Right. I mean, let them just go back to the basic dictionary. They will agree on certain things. When you say we will not agree in advance, we will not shake hands, that means you're already preempting that there will not be any agreement on any of these items. Yet you already have your own agendas on the table. They have, I think, 4 items. Yes. So are they saying we will not agree on the 4 that they are presenting? And if we agree, why would we not shake hands on those? Again, a handshake is a sign of truce. Peace.
Yes.
At the end of it all, Kenyans want peace. We have been in the street fighting.
Sure. Mheshimiwa, usually when you enter into a situation such as this that the bipartisan talks is introducing, you must usually look at yourself as one side and look at the other side and have a deeper understanding of just the talks that are happening, right? Some of the things that you've talked about just now, why would you feel this animosity? Why? And I guess that's the actual question. Why do you think that it is such a pain point? Why is it so difficult? Why would there be, as you say, delaying tactics, not agreeing on this date, not choosing? Why would there be that atmosphere already, even before words are spoken or a meeting has been had?
I'll tell you, it's suspicion, and the suspicion is based on what happened in the last time there was a handshake between the president and the leader of the opposition after the last elections. The deputy president then felt slighted and felt that his space was crowded up by having the leader of opposition getting very cozy with the government and very cozy with the president, and that is one of the things that he felt. So obviously the leaders within the Kenya Kwanza coalition are feeling that a handshake might bring in the leaders from Azimio close to the president, and then there will be another causing and friendship that might sideline them. It's a suspicious thing. It's suspicion. But you know, if both parties have said, if the leader of Azimio has said he doesn't want a handshake in that manner, he doesn't want to be part of government, and the president has also said he does not want to share his government, why can't the people that they are sending believe this? Now, let me tell you, one of the problems we face in those talks is that one of the sides, the leadership sent there, may not be able to make any decision without reference to their bosses. But my party leader is a principal in the coalition and can make a decision on behalf of the coalition. So by sending His Excellency Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka to the talks, we've already demonstrated that we are sending someone who can make a decision at the table. He doesn't have to pick a phone and call someone outside because he understands what they stand for. But the team that has been sent by the Kenya Kwanza regime will keep having to walk out to the toilet to make a call to confirm whether this can be done. And that is what would be the problem. And I think what they should do is just agree that they have one leader, one chair, that is my party leader, and then they run this thing together. And let me tell you, it's very easy to solve some of these problems. I can tell you, there are some that are already in agreement. IBC reconstitution, they're already in agreement. Basic things like inclusivity, they just need to give a commitment and say,
even
going
cost of
forward,
living, there's an agreement.
On?
Cost of living.
Even cost of living, they've said they do not want a discussion on cost of living.
But there's an agreement that there's an issue about cost of living.
Yes, both sides know there's a... But all they have to do is agree. So what do we say to Kenyans together? At the end of the day, they must stand together and tell Kenyans, this is what we have agreed on the cost of living. There's a problem internationally, but this is how this government is going to address this matter going forward so that we can have a few quick fixes so that Kenyans stop suffering continuously. So there must be some agreements. I can tell you there are some very easy things, low-lying fruits that they can sort out. In fact, within the first 1 or 2
a couple of days like this and they can move. You've already had a parliamentary group meeting, right? As Azimio, are you?
Yes, we just had a briefing from our leader.
From your leaders?
Yes.
What are they taking to the table with regards to cost of living? What does Azimio want the government to do? What will they be?
Our real issue goes back to the finance bill that was already signed into law. So it's an act of parliament. I know it is in court, but we are asking that there be some goodwill and reduce the amount of taxation they are taking from Kenyans a little bit because we are going through harsh economic times.
Revise the finance bill.
Reduce the amount of money you are taking. The taxation regime is too high now at this current time. Reduce it, and then also reduce the taxation on production, on fuel. You can even come to a balance of maybe 10% instead of the 16%. Find a way to stop and do not affect the disposable income of Kenyans too much, and also do not make the cost of basic and goods and services too expensive.
Is there a concrete proposal that is coming even from your leadership in Parliament to the team that's going to be meeting and says, in our quest to review and revise the finance bill, these are the 5 areas, the 5 clauses that we want to amend? 1, this one on VAT on fuel, reduce it, and our proposal is from 16%, bring it back down to 10%, like you've said. On ABCD, are there specific concrete proposals that Kalonzo will be taking to the table on Wednesday?
Yeah, Eric, what we have proposed, because it's a negotiation, is we have proposed that they amend completely and repeal all these taxes, the punitive taxes. The new taxes introduced in 2023. Kenya has been operating for the longest time. The new taxes.
Do not change anything.
Yes, do not increase the turnover tax. Do not increase VAT on fuel. Do not increase the pay-as-you-earn tax. All those do not introduce the housing levy now.
Okay.
So ours is to repeal. Go back to where we were. We were still collecting taxes. We were paying taxes.
Is there a proposal to amend the Appropriations Act? so that you're telling the government to spend less?
Once
because the government has already come to you as parliamentarians and you've allowed the government to spend 3.7 trillion shillings in the next financial year.
Yes.
Now, if you do not want them to raise money that is commensurate with that, what proposal are you giving them? Where do you want them to get the money?
The
3.6 trillion shillings.
Eric, let me.
Are you approving, therefore?
Yes.
Are you then approving a higher budget deficit, meaning that Parliament, including Azimio leadership, are saying you can borrow more? Or is a proposal reduce the expenditure? What exactly are you taking to the table?
Let me. We make this thing sound so big. Yes. It's a very basic thing. If we agree that yes, we can reduce the taxation so that we do not hurt our people, then they will, once they come up with an agreement, they will be able to now figure out how much then are we collecting, how much less are we collecting within this financial year as a result of the agreement, because they have to come up to an agreement.
Yes.
So once they agree on that and they know the amount they are reducing, then from that point is when you can look at what part of budget can we also cut.
Okay.
You cut your cloth based on your size.
We already know. We already know how much they raised last year.
Yes.
We know they raised 1.8 trillion. Well, they said they raised 2 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Okay. So if they raised 2 trillion shillings, you don't even need to have a conversation. First cut, then we can discuss. It's basically you saying reduce your expenditure to 2 trillion shillings.
Yes, but
is that what you're taking to the table? Because if it's not,
yes,
we'll go back to even what people are asking on social media. When Finance Bill was being passed in Parliament, many of your members were not in Parliament. Even those that are saying that they're champions of the people were absent when the new taxes were being passed in Parliament. They were absent when the new expenditure was being passed in Parliament. How do we trust the same people to sit around the table and champion our cause?
But Eric, you've just made it seem like it is all of us who are absent. We were there, we were present all the way through. When the budget was being discussed, we gave our opinion. And I've just said, cut your cloth based on your size, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the same thing I said on the floor. Go back to Hansard. That's exactly what I said. And I've said that almost every year since I was elected in 2013. Because I find government continuously operating on a deficit. And you know what? Even if you are, people look at government budget like it's special. It's just like a domestic budget for your own house.
Jeez.
You have a certain salary every month, and this is the amount of money you'll be paid. How can you consistently be planning for rent of a house that you can't afford, take your children to a school you can't afford, drive a car you can't afford, continuously? So you're constantly borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. So it reaches a point where you decide, I will not drive a Probox. I'll go for a Volkswagen or rather the opposite. When I was younger, Volkswagen was the cheapest car, but now now it's changed. So you can change. You can move from Mutaiga and go to a different place. You can go to some place in Buruburu, or maybe even go to Mathare or go to Kibra. So the biggest problem is that the government is constantly living large, and then the development agenda. You want to build roads, yes, and it's not a bad thing. But if you want to build a house and you don't have the money, will you build it that year? So you'll wait for the next year. So for me, I think the part of expenditure is the easier thing to do, because even though there is a budget, you're not compelled. It's not a must that they spend that money. Every year we pass a budget, they don't spend all the money.
I totally understand what you're saying, and indeed, yes, you were vocal in terms of how the government should or should not spend money. And then one is left wondering if members of parliament are actually aware that once you give your approval towards how a government will spend money, that's cast in stone. The ink dries on that, and then we move forward. So even as you speak those words, my question is, even the members of parliament who are on this other side, is there concert in terms of resolution? Is there concert to say, you know what, guys, this is actually where we are and this is where we ought to be going? Because the lack of confidence, or the almost mistrust that could very easily snowball into distrust if it has not already, is that members of parliament then go into the August House and they're not really serious about the things that they're discussing. Because if it's just the MP of Kaviani and a few other voices here who unfortunately will fall into the minority when it comes to a vote, then we're not going anywhere. And that's the reason why you now see, year after year, a country in terms of its budget, is running in deficit, because decisions are the crucial place where decisions are being made is not taken seriously. How do you get the people on your side, if they are going to actually operate in a position of opposition, to say, not for our selfish needs, but let's look at this thing later on, and what effect is it going to have? I believe those then will fuel a decision. And when do we get to a point where sitting in Parliament is not just sitting in Parliament, but sitting in Parliament is taking into consideration very seriously the things that you do and the effects that they will have in the future, like what we are dealing with today? I dare say that if when those conversations were being had, if enough people were on the floor of the House, if people raised their voices a lot more like you did, we would not be in the situation in which we are in today. Is that even possible?
Okay, I think you have a brilliant analysis of what is happening. I will tell you where the biggest problem is, because it is true, and I think as media you need to keep telling members to be vocal in what they believe in. Let them speak out. It's important. But then, there's an issue of whipping. In every parliamentary democracy, there is the person called the whip. And the whip is really like the whip that is used to beat up people. When the whip is applied, people will vote along party lines. And so many other times when members are deep in their hearts, they are agonizing about that decision, but the whip is applied and they have to vote in a certain way. That's where the problem is. And I think also you note that after the last election, a lot of members of Azimio la Umoja trooped towards the government side because of the mistaken belief from time immemorial that whoever holds the reins of power also is the one who holds the strings to the purse. Unfortunately, in today's constitutional dispensation in Kenya, the purse is actually held by members of parliament. Yep. But they seem not to know. So what happens is that members will troop to State House to go and ask for a road, to go and ask for a hospital, to go and ask for some development agenda, which is actually canvassed on the floor. So I think media needs to tell members, and I've said this, but media needs to make it clear, because it's in the constitution, that you are the ones that have the budget, so that members of parliament, that's what happened to us. Members of parliament from Azimio trooped to the side of government, and now we are left few of us.
Should we be a bit worried that they do not know? Should we not be a bit worried that they do not know?
You have to be worried. I am worried.
Mheshimiwa, I'm seated here wondering,
I am worried.
If you are in this particular discussion and you're throwing it back to the media, what is it that we are doing exactly right now? Because if you're saying it's the media that's supposed to capacitate these particular members of parliament in terms of budgetary allocation and so on and so forth, what is it that we are doing? So you in your party, by the time you have this particular group that's doing something in parliament or maybe trying to pass a bill, do we actually know that our members understand exactly what it is that they are getting into, so that you know that there's a particular facet, for instance, that understands this particular budgetary allocations, and you have experts where need be that can advise them? And I'm speaking this from a point of, again, torture, where we have had a budget that's very, very bellicose and very crazy, but we don't see anything coming out of it. I'll have you know that from the petition 122 of 2013, Victims of Violence, PEV 2007, were awarded amounts that have never been paid up to date, but we still have very crazy. But what's happening? Do our people know exactly what they're doing? Do we even look at the items in this particular budget? Or you're saying that now it's Ndu and Latiff to take care of these particular people? Is it
okay?
Where are we?
What I'm asking the media to do is keep hyping to members of parliament the responsibilities. Let me tell you, all of us, when we get elected, our agenda is not the same. And let's just be real. Yeah. There's people who just get elected for the sake of it, just because they can be in parliament. There are people who get elected to protect their wealth, so that no one can touch their wealth. Right. So because they are in parliament. There are people who just like the title, they want the title. And that's why you find, even when it comes to attendance, to contribution, to even I mean, how many times you listen to a member speak even in a public forum, and you wonder, doesn't this person really understand what's going on in the house? So it's important that the media, because all of us have to help each other. Right. It's important that the media keeps telling members, please, can you go back and do what is expected of you? But the problem is that when we found ourselves in the minority, some of the members of our side also despair because they know even if you vote, even if you speak, it might not change anything. At the end of the day, there is that tyranny of numbers that will go and sweep these things into law, despite the fact that they may be hurting our people. So that's a problem we're facing.
And we as a media will have people here and we'll tell them you're failing.
It's important. we are failing, we are accepting. And we are sorry to Kenyans.
Mheshimiwa, thank you very much for joining us. The Honourable Deputy Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Robert Moi, is the MP for Kadhiani constituency. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we commemorate the August 7th bomb blast.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Senate Speaker Amason King has poured cold water on Azimio la Umoja coalition agenda on lowering the cost of living through bipartisan talks, saying it's an exercise in futility. King stated that the dialogue between the two opposition sides will yield nothing for Kenyans given the laid out agenda by the opposition coalition. He stated that the issues that have been highlighted are before the National Assembly and the Senate, and that there is no need of spending taxpayers' money over issues that can be handled by the relevant bodies. The opposition coalition has stated that the team will be required to engage in dialogue on four thematic areas, which include ways to lower the escalating cost of life and the audit of the 2022 presidential elections. Now, Azimio leader Raila Odinga's confident claims that his coalition was clamoring to join President William Ruto-led Kenya Kwanza government, while maintaining that the opposition had no such intentions. Raila said his side had agreed to a dialogue with the ruling coalition in order to address the most pressing issues affecting the country, such as the high cost of living. Speaking in Nyeri County, the ODM leader led Azimio MPs in asking a section of leaders from Kenya Kwanza who have maintained a hardline position on the impending talks. These as Odinga asked the Kenya Kwanza team not to give them ultimatums and instead go to the negotiating table with genuine intentions. Now, the ICT Ministry, in collaboration with CDF, has initiated a plan to build 1,450 digital stations. CS Eludowalo says the centers will help the youth find employment opportunities through the internet. Speaking at the Diani Kwale County, Owalo said that the centers will be built in public schools and technical institutes. Msambweni Member of Parliament Faisal Badr has pointed out that the construction of the 4 digital stations is already underway in the area. And finally, Arsenal lifted the Community Shield to end Manchester City's silverware streak with a 4-1 penalty shootout victory after a 1-1 draw against the treble winners Sunday. Now, Mikel Arteta's side forced the shootout thanks to Leonardo Trossard's heavy deflected equalizer 11 minutes into stoppage time at Wembley. Cole Palmer's superb colour had given City the lead late in the second half, but Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri missed their penalties before Fabio Vieira converted the decisive kick in the annual curtain raiser to the Premier League season. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, a few minutes after 8 o'clock and we're well into traffic hour this Monday morning. It's busy on Jogo Road. It's also busy coming off Lunga Lunga. We'll see some of that spill over towards the Likoni interchange and maybe just touch on the southern bypass just a smidgen. On Langata Road this morning, it's heavy coming in through towards Raila Odinga Way. Some of that is going to go all the way that in touch with what's coming in on Gong Road. And then getting onto Aerodrome and back onto Huru Highway, that's also pretty busy. Look at Kiambu Road competing to be the one with the most traffic this morning. Well done. Not maybe not too wonderful a thing for those who are stuck in it, but it's heavy traffic on Kiambu Road. It's all spilling over towards Wangari Maathai Way, Pangani at the underpass, Muranga Road, very, very busy getting into the city, folks. So if you're stuck there, this one is going to take some patience. The northern bypass is busy getting towards Ruaka, Kitisuru, coming in from Limuru Road as well. So it's a patience due this morning. Let's see how we can get through it. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Try to keep things moving regardless.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
After 8, the conversation continues. Welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room this morning. Your guests again, Eric Ndu and Isabella Obara, advocate of the High Court and technical lead, advice and litigation at the Independent Medical Legal Unit. CT is away this week. He's taken some time off to enjoy himself. It's holiday season after all. So maybe he's actually watching one of those shows.
It's very possible, but
Which
I don't
ones?
know. Well, CT once did tell us that he does enjoy the odd cartoon or so. So this is a good thing, I would think, because GoTV is here with the holidays and has got you covered, even you, CT. You have different shows for kids of all ages. If you have a toddler...
65 and below.
Toddler is relative. If you have a toddler, then they can get away with Zig and Shako every weekday from 6:55 p.m. on Cartoonito channel 90 on GoTV Super. If you have a teenager, no worries, we're getting older. Let them enjoy themselves with Henry Danger every Saturday and Sunday at 1:30 p.m. on Nickelodeon channel 87 on GoTV Value. Raha kwa familia yote na GoTV. Download my GoTV app or dial *423# and stay connected to the fun. GoTV, love it.
Indeed, and please remember to register today for the 20th edition of the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, 29th of October. It's a Sunday. That's the day that you should prepare yourself to run along the southern bypass if you're in Nairobi. And if you're not in Nairobi, you're in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Kakamega and other towns. The dates are available on NairobiMarathon.com. Just go to www.nairobimarathon.com, register there with only 2,000 bob and start preparing yourself for that run. Or if you're anywhere else in the world, the Nairobi Marathon actually also has a virtual run. So register today for it. It's August 7th. And we talk about the forgotten victims of the attack. That's a headline today in the nation. The Standard today has a headline on bomb blast babies speaking 25 years on. 25 years ago, on such a day in 1998, there was an attack in Nairobi that basically shook the country and the region. There was a simultaneous attack as well in Dar es Salaam. Shook the entire region. And since then, we have seen terror in our shores and we have witnessed terror more than once. Let's discuss that now. Our guest, Dr. Hassan Kanenje, is the director at the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. Dr. good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good to have you in the Situation Room again. First time this year.
Yeah, that's correct.
Taking you 8 months to get back here.
Well, I don't know who is to blame for that.
Plus.
I'm always available.
Really?
Yes.
We are also always available. This show is always live, 6 to 10 a.m. every weekday morning.
Yes.
But it's good to have you.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan.
Karibu sana. Karibu sana.
Certainly.
City is away, so I have the day's proverb, and today's proverb is from this region, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. What's common about them? Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Okay.
Yes.
The other thing that's also common is that there's an ethnic group that is found in all these countries.
Fulani.
Yeah. And they have a proverb. Those people of the Songhai Empire. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. What do you mean? What do you think?
I think that is what we call philosophic sagacity. It's very wise words. If anything is presented well, no matter how ugly it may be in its makeup, it's going to be consumed.
So how confident you appear to be is how people will take you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Even if you really know a lot and you don't present yourself with confidence, people will be like, all right, do you really know whether? And if you come with a lot of confidence and you come with an orb and tell people, look into this thing, they will look into it. And you'll give them 7,000 bob and they will go.
You had to.
Had to.
You know, as they say, people buy you before they buy your product.
Indeed.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good direct interpretation of it. Dr. Kanenje, tell us about the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. What do you do there? There's very many things. Horn, international.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. Now, we are a research and policy think tank that focuses on, among other issues of defense and security, diplomacy, foreign relations, terrorism, violent extremism, as well as climate security. And we focus primarily on the Greater Horn of Africa, 13 countries of the Horn of Africa and Eastern Africa, as well as Central. But mostly our analysis and also research extends from the Cape to Cairo. Yes, and so we cover largely the continent. And by extension, in terms of the work we do, we also extend some of the analysis and work to the Global South. But largely, the primary center is the Greater Horn. The secondary is the continent, as well as in the rest of the world.
Okay.
Yes.
When you talk about what we are discussing today, which is as we commemorate the August 7th bomb blast memorial and what the country has then witnessed in the last 25 years, issues of security and terrorism. We've had serious spikes and what we, the public, assume to be lulls, and then some what we see and assume to be spikes in acts of terrorism. How's the situation been like, let's say, just in the last 5 years?
First of all, 2 hours from now, in 1998, Kenyans suffered probably the largest attack on its soil that claimed the lives of more than 200, innocent civilians, as well as more than 4,000 who were injured. And I think before we proceed, we just like to pay tribute to those who are still living with the wounds, still nursing the scars of that. I think sometimes that is forgotten. There are children who lost their parents. Half of Kenya was not alive then. Now we think almost twice the population that we were at the time. Nonetheless, I think they still are of pain, especially in the light that we still have this problem that is still going on despite our best efforts to contain it. In the last 5 years, of course, we have seen something that, while it has increased in terms of attempts to attack the country, I think the efforts to contain them have also been a lot more robust. There are a lot of lessons have been learned from the previous experiences, in part because of, as a frontier country, in a very terror-prone region, considering the presence of Al-Shabaab in Somalia. I think there's plenty that the country has made in terms of progress, but there's still a long way to go, in part because just of the multiplicity of such threats that are emanating not just even from Somalia, but right now they have spread all across from Cabo Delgado to eastern DRC.
Have we seen that the structure of terror and its activities has changed in any way? Obviously, we are seeing from 1998 until today different kinds of terror with the digital space opening up. There's been a lot more that then has been introduced to our minds in terms of what can be a terrorizing situation, and folks who are ready to put their dollars behind that to make sure that it happens. But how would you say that the structure of terror has changed, if any way, over those last few years?
Our initial, I think, conception that was in part sparked by the 1998 bombing, which was not the first. It was, against Kenya was actually the second after 1981 Norfolk. But this was the biggest, but also the most organized. There was a central command, and we were attacked by the world's largest terror group at the time, which was Al Qaeda, and many activities were organized and arranged and directed by the central command. with resources as well as manpower to do that. Even the ideology was also controlled, but that has changed. Right now, we're having franchises, but also a proliferation of such groups that are not exactly affiliated with Al-Qaeda, but they're equally harmful, if not worse. And so, to the extent that both the platforms which they either recruit or spread messages have evolved because of the information superhighway, like today, as you rightly mentioned, the internet has become the new frontier of recruitment. A lot of young Kenyan youth, both men and women, have fallen victim of this and have been recruited, and they're doing it, very effectively. You see, the more I think the terrorist organizations and VE groups have been beaten, especially in traditional spaces, they've assumed new spaces where they think they may have a comparative advantage. And so many governments have been trying to play catch up all the time because the enemy is also very smart and very resilient.
Okay. Professor, as we talk about the dynamic structure of terror, I am thinking about the aggressive campaigns that obviously the world at large has come up with to counter VE and the likes. But from that particular space, in terms of the aggression and the campaigns and the rallying efforts towards ensuring that terrorism is countered, we have also propped up a space for possibly one of the most vile human rights violations. And I'll give you an example of extrajudicial execution as well as enforced disappearance. I'm speaking about this as IMLU, the Independent Medical Legal Unit that works around prevention and response of torture and related violations. And my question to you then is, even as we look at countering this particular, animal in various areas, do we then prioritize, countering any other side effects that may come? Do we even have data to show that this campaign had this effect on people who are not supposed to be part of this particular campaign? Do we have maybe an analysis to say, hey, could we restructure this particular campaign because now we have 36 persons, forcibly disappeared as a result of, because I know that there has been money. For instance, I think in 2016, we had Kenya receiving about $120 million, right? The military to counter VE. And I think the police received around 8 million Kenya shillings. But do we then, have enough empirical evidence or data to show that we did this, but there was this also on the other side? Because there are people listening and hoping that at least they would hear about some of their forcibly disappeared people. We're looking as far back as 2014.
There's always a very delicate balance between national security and human rights,
right,
and people's freedoms and liberties. The world over. It is there in the United States. It's been there, across the continent and other parts of the world. Now, the initial focus, I think, by many governments was the use of hard power. And hard power, of course, then ran counter to lots of constitutional provisions of many countries. And so what we have seen increasingly, and what partly led to the formation of the National Strategy on Countering Violent Extremism in Kenya, for instance, 2016, was the adoption of a whole-of-society approach, more softer approaches in countering actually the problem. Because, let's be honest, the world had tried to shoot its way out of terrorism. Of course, it did not work. And if we just go using some of the achievements that the national strategy, that's the Kenya National Strategy on Countering Extremism, has achieved, it's been tremendous. In some places right now, like Isiolo, we've been having 0 cases of EE as a result of that. Yes. And so I think the whole of society approach that the Kenyan government adopted was also in recognition of the failure, for instance, of hard approaches, or at least the limitations of hard approaches, or over-reliance on hard approaches in countering the problem. But the recognition that the entire community needs to be involved, because security starts with each and every one of us, I think has been a game changer. Of course, there is a lot more to be done, in the future, and there's still a lot more, to be able to address. But to the extent that improvement has been made, I think cannot be ignored.
What does the face of surveillance look like? I mean, we've had conversations about this before when we talk about, terrorism became a thing whereby you try to be a step ahead. And unfortunately, when you cut off one head, another one, maybe 3 or 4, then pop up to recover that one. So what does the face of surveillance look like? Just aiding in some of the things you've just mentioned, perhaps where you would previously expect that there would be terror activity, whether it was in recruitment, whether it was, the fundamental extremism that you saw before. How has surveillance improved, whereby now you can say, we can keep an eye on this, we hear the chatter, we know what the conversations are, we know what the plans are. Has that improved over years?
Yeah, most certainly. Terrorism and terror ideology, it's like water. They're always going to look for the lowest place and whatever opening to be able to pass through. So if you're going to close one hole, it's going to find another hole, probably that you're not aware of. And so governments, what they've been doing, and even the Kenyan government itself, is how can we be able to expand this beyond, for instance, mere inspections? Mm-hmm. And so what we have seen around the world is governments are coordinating very closely, whether it comes to terror financing, mm-hmm. Whether it comes to immigration, whether it comes to communication, using the Silicon Valley, mm-hmm. to ensure that most of the content, for instance, intercepted, and some of the content that can be used for recruitment, it's not even seen out there. Yeah. That is why many of you nowadays, you don't see a lot of videos of Al-Shabaab perhaps conducting certain things. You don't see them. There's a reason why that's being done. That is used to blunt the ability of these groups to actually both recruit as well as coordinate and organize. But of course, terror groups are always going to try and find a loophole because they're a lot more determined a lot of times than an average citizen.
Mm. I want to look at the reasons why. I believe I read something you wrote once, and you said sometimes the reasons are inexplicable. But are we seeing that there's a different reason why now folks would get into this? Money being one of them, a big one. That the recruitment of terrorists is easy, quote unquote, because the offering to them is something that they've never seen before. Religious fundamentalism as well comes into play. Are we seeing the reasons behind engagement in terrorism also with these things that we've seen change? Surveillance has improved. We've seen now that governments and their terror financing has also improved. It's become a lot more engaging. Have we seen the reasons why people go into terrorism also then now altered over years? Or do they remain the same?
Actually, I think the interesting thing, what you just mentioned about money being a big factor in these groups joining terror groups, actually it's not. Mm. No. And you just want to give an example. 15 out of 19 terror hijackers in the 9/11, the United States, were Saudi. They had training in aviation schools. They could fly jumbo jets. They could have gotten any job, around the world. So that certainly was not, the key factor.
Okay.
Some of the masterminds of terror attacks in Kenya were university graduates from law, from engineering. These are people who had a future. However, there is sometimes something greater apart from just the money, because the money can only take you so far. And that has to do with the manner in which the ideology is propagated. And one of the things we've realized, from our study is in Kenya, for instance, a lot of young people who joined Al-Shabaab groups also seem to come from broken families.
Okay.
Yes. And so it has also something to do with parenting and the need to belong and a desire to be relevant. But secondly, you have terrorist groups providing very easy answers to very complex problems.
So true.
You see, governments or parents, sometimes you're going to be at pains to explain to your child why they're in such predicament. But terror groups have
ready
answer, and they have a clear solution to that. And so, because they provide easy answers and easy solutions, that if you get rid of this, then you're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it makes sense. But I think of focusing so much on the fact that is money. Sometimes we miss the point. There are certain cases where people have been driven by money to try and join. But you see, what will be
so the motivation is not to get money.
It's not always to get money.
But the vulnerability is because of the poverty creates a new level of vulnerability.
The poverty creates a grievance.
So can I ask, so based on what you've been able to see, and as you analyze this, then, if you took two individuals, one person, well-to-do, essentially, is like you say, a graduate, has done 1, 2, 3, they're not for want of daily bread. The other, the opposite, for want of daily bread, comes from a broken home, does not know where the next meal is going to come from. Who would be the easier one to recruit?
Poverty is a predisposing factor, it's not a causal factor.
Okay.
You know. 2, if one person comes from a wealthy family but is surrounded by circumstances that speak to their heart, then they're still going to go, because number one, they also have the means to actually be able to transport themselves across the board. That is why some children, including children of senior politicians in this country, have been caught trying to cross over to Somalia. You see, on the continent, we've always been poor for much of our existence, where we've not always been terrorists, have we?
No.
And there are countries which are worse off than us. But not necessarily. People from Pokot, they're not, joining terror groups en masse. Why is that? Not to say that Pokots are poor, but generally some of these areas are marginalized that have increased their loss of vulnerability for these people, that really can make them susceptible to terror recruitment. So poverty and underdevelopment is a predisposing factor, but it's not a causal factor.
Okay.
Security systems have been financed, resourced, organized to detect terror, right? Globally. If you look at whichever country, even in our own country, we have various security organs that are basically just looking at this and being able to detect terror. NIS, military intelligence, the DCI, anti-terror police unit. We also now have the overall coordinating agency, the National Counter-Terrorism Center, and all this. But it's still possible for terrorism to take place and terrorists to come in, to deploy, to recruit, to do all these things. Why is this breakdown? If you look at that entire value chain of terrorism, like you said, it starts with somebody with an ideology and is able to convince someone. Then there's somebody who is funding and financing, and they're able to actually move big amounts of money. And these big amounts of money are able to buy arms. There is arms trading and transportation coming into these areas. Where they are, the recruiters, they're able to send people into communities and find those who are vulnerable, and they recruit them and they bring them in and they train them. How come security systems are not able to detect them from the very beginning at that big point of financing or transportation of arms?
Part of it has to do with generally the societal makeup. Number one, as society, there's certain sometimes deficiencies that we have. You see, if let's say you are a public officer or you are a community leader, and you've been told there is someone who is trying to cross over the border, has a consignment you don't understand, and somehow with 5,000 shillings you let them pass, they come and you give them, as a village person, you decide, or even a chief, that, well, you can still stay in my neighborhood because you gave me 1,000 shillings. You don't really pay attention to that. Those are kind of things that create loopholes. And so, also as society and as Kenyans, you see, it is easy to point fingers, at somebody else. But do we raise alarm when we actually see something that is different? Do we raise alarm when we see things that are not right? Do we even raise alarm when we see people being corrupt? We don't. Secondly, we have another bigger problem, and that is the regional dynamics. Kenya is not an island, unfortunately. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your neighbors. And we live in a neighborhood that is very fragile, that is prone with terror groups. Especially our neighboring Somalia still struggling with and being an epicenter of Al-Shabaab. We share a very long border with Somalia, for instance. We cannot close every loophole when it comes to that. And so instability in Somalia is always going to mean some kind of instability in Kenya.
Yeah.
these are kinds of tied at the hip. Now we have seen the Al-Shabaab making inroads into Ethiopia that for a long time it appeared to be impregnable. In Cabo Delgado in Mozambique, just a few years ago, it wasn't a problem. In Eastern DRC, 2 months ago, there was a Kenyan who actually attacked a church. And the Kenyans were mislead. So it tells you that we also have must have a regional approach, to this problem, because since we're not an island and we cannot close all our borders at every point, we're going to have to look at it holistically, both from the regional perspective as well as Kenyans, as Kenyan citizens. What do we really care about?
But see, my concern really is, look at Al-Shabaab. So Al-Shabaab is painted as this ragtag militia, it is organized, their leaders have been killed, there are others who are trying to come up, there's always infighting within Al-Shabaab, but Al-Shabaab is able to still mobilize. Al-Shabaab is able to acquire the resources that it needs. It's able to get the weaponry that it wants to use. Despite having a Kenyan military force, a Ugandan military force, and other military forces in Somalia who are looking for the Al-Shabaab, despite them having the support of Americans and their drones and their super power, looking at this ragtag militia, why are we unable to extinguish this rat?
You see, when you're fighting conventional war with an unconventional opponent, it's always going to be a struggle. If Al-Shabaab was organized the way armies are organized, they would have been destroyed a long time ago. But they know that is not where their strength lies. And so they're going to always conduct insurgency campaigns. Now, it is true that the Kenyan contingent is part of ATMIS. So it only exists there. It does not have a separate mission outside ATMIS. And right now it's actually supporting only, or rather playing a supporting role as ATMIS, because they transition from AMISON to ATMIS. So it's a lot more limited. It's supposed to offer technical expertise and assistance to the Somali government or Somali forces. But it's still thin. If we compare some of the missions deployed elsewhere, you're going to realize it's not that big, actually. And now, to the extent that the problem still continues, of course, can raise questions among citizens in both countries, as why is our presence there and how come we're not getting the desired results? I can tell you this: you want to see Talibanization of Somalia? Just pull out and just say we are not going to support Somalia again, and so let's just abandon this mission. We have seen the United States had almost 200,000 troops, NATO, in Afghanistan. What happened? Who is in power today? It's the Taliban. And so this is not a war that can be defined by a few successes, but to the extent that they no longer have a presence in Kismayo, where the Kenyan contingent had been operating, to the extent that they're no longer able to collect the kind of taxes they used to, we've starved them of a lot of things. But do you remember, these are also connected to certain community movements, and they're connected to other international terror organizations. That's what builds the resilience. But the unity of those who are fighting them, it is the strength.
Let's take a break. At 27 minutes to 9, Kenya's Biggest Conversation is hosting Dr. Hassan Kanenje. He's a director, Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies, on this day as we commemorate the August 7th bomb blast memorial. 25 years ago, many Kenyans died, many others were injured, many survived with injuries as Kenya witnessed its biggest terror attack. We are looking at Kenya's battle with terrorism over the years, and that's why he's here. bomayangu.go.ke, the government's affordable housing platform, is where you need to go to register so that you can participate in ownership of a home. Go and you'll see the very many projects that are listed on that website, and you can also register by using your USSD code *832#. That's *832#.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice,
until the sentence is set aside. Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No. It's about shipping out. You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the ship in the bathtub? Or
the ship man?
Emmanuel Talabu used to tell us a story of they were in school and they've been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a ship or a ship goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. It's 14 degrees, highs of 21 and lows of 11. We'll see lows of 13 in Nakuru, where it's sunny at 17. It'll come to a low of 12 in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 14, and at 17 it's sunny in Eldoret, coming down to lows of 12. Sunny at 24 in Mombasa, we'll see lows of 23, and 24 will be the low in Malindi, where it's sunny at 26. Sunny conditions at 23 in Kisumu, lows of 19, and we'll see lows of 15. In a sunny Kakamega at 21. It's 21 and cloudy in Kampala. We'll see lows of 16 and we'll see lows of 21 in Dar es Salaam, where the sun is up at 25. It's 8 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, lows of 5 and lows of 25. In a cloudy Lagos, we'll see lows of 20 in a partly sunny Kinshasa.
Spice up your life.
All right, we're still in traffic hour, still seeing some movement coming in and out of the city. As you come off the Thika Superhighway, traffic still getting you towards the Pangani underpass. Looks like it'll be that way for some time. And it's heavy on Raila Odinga Way, heavy then on Langata Road as you go towards Uhuru Highway. The Thika Superhighway is actually taking all prisoners this morning. Very heavy traffic. The service lanes are going to help until you get to that tunnel. And Kiambu Road also, I don't know how many lanes we are right now, but it is blood red on the map. Shows us that there's heavy traffic there. All right. I guess it's to be expected at this hour of the day. Let's see how it progresses closer to 9 o'clock. And then let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Top of the hour. Conversation continues with Dr. Hassan Kanenje as we commemorate the August 7th memorial.
Professor, I'm wondering, because you've had lots of studies done and you have the reasons addressed as you have already, has corruption been one of those, say, top 5? Because there had been allegations at some point, between 2014 and 2016, that indeed corruption is what kept, this particular campaign ongoing on the other side in Somalia. We had issues of, the politicians selling charcoal, the politicians selling sugar. So when you're doing these particular studies and you have an inkling of some of these things that are being said, are those reasons you consider or maybe question or look into, or do we just say, okay, this is not part of our study, we're going to let it go? And if indeed you did, please tell us what it looked like when you went in. Was that something that was a real thing that kept this particular campaign going? And if indeed it was, how much did we lose?
Yes. Thanks a lot for that question. Those are allegations we've actually had about the Kenyan personnel being involved in charcoal selling, and that's the reason we maintain our presence in Somalia and Kismayu. I think that's equivalent of using a Rolls Royce to go and buy a bicycle. It doesn't exactly make sense. You see, what the country has spent in terms of blood and treasure is astronomical, is nothing compared to whatever thing that would ever have come out of it. And those stories, most of them are actually flatly false. Now, I think one of the things we also need to understand, it is Kenya Kenya's deployment and presence, contribution to AMISOM also was politicized by especially Somali politicians, quite a bit. And so they profited extensively, of course, by painting the Kenyan contingent selling charcoal. Really, how much money can you get from charcoal?
I imagine.
Exactly, as in it doesn't exactly make sense.
Yeah.
So that is neither here nor there.
Well, from the photos we saw, come on, you can make a pretty penny. If the photos we saw are real, at the port of Kismayu, and piles upon piles of bags of charcoal, that's a lot of money.
That's
for an individual. You're not talking about the government.
Now, and unfortunately, we didn't go there as individuals. We went there as government. And so the decision has to be made by government. And government was spending a lot of money in body, in treasure, and in souls. And it is not exactly worth it. And I would like to challenge anybody who is watching to actually go and do the math. Even right now, of the charcoal export from Kismayu, how much money comes in and how much money was actually Kenya, spending,
You see, why I asked this question, Prof, is there are women in the villages who lost their sons on the other side. And what was being said was because of charcoal. I lost my breadwinner because of charcoal. And when it's said in Swahili, it's even more painful. Nimepoteza mtoto kwa sababu ya makaa, So when we have this particular discussion, it's very nice to also shape that particular narrative that this is what it looked like, because it's very fashionable and trendy, but this is not what was on the ground, that we had so many other things that influenced this particular campaign and had it going for this, time period. Because if that's what people think about when it comes to deployment and the amounts that we spend, then it truly just doesn't make sense.
I'm not a government spokesperson,
right?
And so I'm not holding for government. So I'm speaking a very very independent perspective. There were allegations about that. Why did Kenya get into Somalia to start with? Kenya got into Somalia in part because Al-Shabaab was raiding our territory and kidnapping tourists. Tourism is a critical sector in Kenya's economy. It was literally destroying our economy.
Right.
So it was a national interest. It still remains a national interest issue. It's going to be that way for whoever president or leader is going to be for this country in the years to come.
Right.
And so for us to actually simplify that to charcoal, it is kind of it's kind of a little bit oxymoronic. Now, I feel for those mothers, those fathers who've lost their children or who've lost their family members as a result of the conflict. But a lot of it had to do with the conflict itself as opposed to actually charcoal. The Kenyan contingent, if they were to pull out of ATMIS, you're still going to have those issues inside Somalia. Okay. It is important to understand that even as much as ATMIS or AMISOM have supported the Somali government in beating back Al-Shabaab and getting territory, Al-Shabaab still is present in lots of the hinterland of Somalia. And they still going to start wreaking havoc. Look, just a few years ago, they were still, even last year, they were collecting taxes for next year. Al-Shabaab. Because they've already collected for this year, but they don't have money. So they're still going to wreak havoc on you. So for us to look at it from just the prism of some maybe corrupt individual, honestly, it is minimizing the sacrifices that a lot of people have made and the men and women who've paid the ultimate sacrifice to protect this country and save the region.
Those who have analytical discussions and are keeping the conversation alive in terms of, what should be done or what is being done, the suggestion has come that acts of terror should not be publicized, that the aftermath of terror should not be publicized. We've seen countries like the United States be very good at that. The threat to the United States, according to the Wilson Center, is that there are multiple terror attacks in the US. I don't know how many there've been this year, but they never make this information public, and they feel that this is making progress on the fight against terror, because what you do is that when you make it public, you feed that particular monster. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, terror thrives on publicity. That is their fuel. When they get publicized, of course, it inspires others. It communicates their relevance. It instills fear. Remember, it's supposed to terrorize. And you can't be terrorized with what you don't know, what you haven't seen, what you haven't heard about. You're going to be terrorized with what you have seen, heard, or at least been told. And so to the extent that, for instance, Western countries in the United States try as much to suppress that kind of information, of course it's helpful. Now, one of the things that, of course, we also need to train ourselves, both as citizens as well as, since now every citizen has a phone and can be able to post anything, is to try and deny them that space, because that is what they're seeking. Because remember, they're not working for you. No matter what grievance you may have against government, for instance. Government's primary responsibility is to protect their own citizens. The terrorists, they don't have that responsibility. Actually, their goal is to make sure they disorganize government.
So essentially what you're saying is that on this side of the pond, usually you're going to whip out the first gadget that you have to start taking pictures or take videos. Media obviously prone to want to cover an event when it happens and then cover the aftermath of it. And what you're saying is starve them of this particular joy.
You have to starve them of this particular joy and to kind of learn some of the art of self-censoring so that you know what information. Let's even just take from my humanitarian perspective. What if you take that picture and it turns out it's my sister and I see the horrific way in which she was murdered? It's going to traumatize me for my entire life. Fine, you will say that I was the first to put it out there, but what was the impact? That is why a lot of advanced countries do not actually share these images. They don't want to do that. They want to minimize, because why would you have to give them free media when anyone else, if they needed media, they can have to pay for it, but they're getting it for free?
Well, I agree in terms of showing the gruesome nature of how a terrorist act is carried out, but in terms of covering terrorism and acknowledging that this has happened, I think if you don't, then you're also minimizing the value of the lives lost. For example, we know that very many security officers have died in this country. Now, for as long as we don't actually talk about those that have died, bodies come, bodies are taken to their families, families bury their loved ones, and we seem to want to basically keep that completely low and minimized. We are not acknowledging the sacrifice of that soldier. Is that not so? And we see this a lot. I mean, do we ever get reports of how many of our security agencies, those that are taking part in the Somali operation, any that died? Do we ever have any commemoration of those that have as our fallen soldiers? The police officers who are being blown off left, right, and center in these parts within the country, do we actually recognize them and acknowledge them?
I think information is actually out there. I think part of the challenge, especially, let's say, between the fourth estate government, is fourth estate building a relationship where they can be able to get certain information from the government in a way that is also responsible. Because, for instance, families need to know about the passing of their loved ones before it's reported in the media. You see, and so we also need to be trained on knowing how to do this so that we actually can be able to get it responsibly. But I think because of the chasm that is existing between the fourth estate sometimes and the government, then that link, misses. But information is actually always out there. Now, it is true that we should not minimize the lives of those ones lost. Non-admission of fact does not negate its factuality. And so if it's a fact that someone has passed and someone had served this country honorably and they've paid the ultimate sacrifice, that person should celebrate it and also remember it. So that even on a day like this, they're among the people we actually remember for the sacrifice they've paid to defend us and to keep us safe. And so I think one thing that needs to be done is a lot more effort need to be done to ensure there is a seamless working relationship between, for instance, those with the source of information and those who are supposed to also communicate to the public in public interest.
Prof, you've mentioned something that I'd like for us to unpack. You're talking about training of journalists in terms of how it is that they report. So in essence, you're saying that there are certain recommendations that you as an institution may have for particular security players, yeah? Then my question to you would be, have you at least partnered with any civil society organizations, for instance, the Independent Medical Legal Unit that works around maybe victims of torture, especially under the ATPU and stuff like that. Do you have any recommendations, just like you've given the journalists, and do you actually have any ongoing partnerships, either in Kenya or outside? And if you have, what has worked and who would you like to partner with, especially in Kenya? Because we are very interested in discussions such as this ones. And I'm asking especially because I know there would be strategic interventions that we can partner around. Yeah.
I think the right person entity to partner with will like to be a government institution, the security, internal security as well as defense. They have all the information that is going to be required to do that. Now, with us, we're always, available to be able to add value, to whatever interaction, that can be able to advance the interest, especially the safety and security of the country as well as the region,
So for purposes of clarity, what I meant was, you see, you have the data, you are speaking of softer issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at outside of the money, we already have a space where someone is already possibly coming from a very not stable home. You have the data. So if this data is available, say for instance, an institution like ours, IMLU, where we offer wholesome rehabilitative services, then we are able to now know this is Lamu, these are the cases that we have here, this is where we can go. So obviously, if you're going to work around security, you'll partner with the state, certainly.
Yes.
But now with the civil society organizations, is your study or maybe are your recommendations readily available to persons like us?
Yeah, most certainly. We work very closely with other civil society organizations as think tanks, and so we have MOUs with many,
you do?
Of course. And so we're always open to engaging, anyone who is willing, because we're in the business of creating ideas, but also providing solutions.
Great. That's nice to know. We'll follow up on that one.
The National Counter-Terrorism Center. Not many people know about it. I'm sure you do. What is it?
It's the agency that is tasked with coordinating PCVE efforts.
What is that?
Preventing and countering violent extremism efforts. And it was established with the purpose of ensuring that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, that all the efforts that are geared towards countering violent extremism as well as terrorism are actually harmonized. Because what had happened before is the haphazard nature in which, of course, we approached the problem because we were unprepared. Remember, when we got first attacked, we were not the primary targets. This was a conflict, unfinished business between, Al Qaeda and the West and the USA. You see, and so increasingly, as the problem became homegrown, there was a need and a desire by the government to establish an agency going to coordinate all efforts, both governmental as well as non-governmental, in ensuring that. We're speaking from the same mouth, and we're not, working at cross purposes, because that militated against a smooth approach to the problem and perhaps contributed to some of the issues that my sister here probably has been raising in terms of human rights.
So who sits in it, in the Counter-Terrorism Center?
A number of agencies within government, both from security sectors across the board, as well as others who may not exactly be dealing with security, but they have a role in security, because even like terms financing and stuff like that, it is important those efforts are done. But it also involves communities, and it has engaged faith leaders, religious leaders, community leaders. They are part of that, as well as institutions of both lower, middle, and as well as higher learning, to ensure that things are harmonized. But generally, it is largely a civilian, organization.
So when you talk about countering violent extremism, this should be the body that's front and center. This should be the body that the public sees engaging with them.
Yes.
Trying to understand what the community is feeling like, what the community is going through, whether there are any vulnerabilities that are emerging, and dealing with those. Right?
Yes. Yeah, this is the face of this one that's dealing with the communities, and it's actually very, very open. A lot of times.
Is this face visible, in your opinion, Prof?
The face is visible, but it's limited, and part of it has to do generally just with I think the fact that there are only too many people to do so much in terms of work, and that is why NCTC tends to rely a lot of more time on the communities to be able to actually also do their work. Just typical as many, of course, government agencies are, you're going to be limited in terms of your scope. But because on recognition of the soft approach, you're not going to be bringing battalions, because that is not, its purpose. It's supposed to coordinate efforts. And so it relies extensively and heavily on communities and other actors in business, in corporate, institutions, to ensure that it actually gets the work done. Because outside that, it is impossible to be able to succeed without involving everybody. And that is why they have a whole of society approach.
Be that as it may, I look at, for example, the war against corruption, all right? Yes. An institution is established called the Anti-Corruption Authority. And it's supposed to spearhead this fight. And then there's the other one, the Anti-Corruption Steering Committee, that other thing. But then those are the ones that we ask questions. So how much are you engaging with the people? If you talk about the national campaign against drug abuse, there's NACADA, which is supposed to be the body that is publicly visible in countering alcoholism. Why don't we see anything about the NCTC? I mean, do you even know who the head of NCTC is?
Is it covert or overt? We need to at least get that right.
Exactly.
Because
is it an intelligence unit or is it?
Yeah.
No, interestingly, it is actually not. It is not covert. It's a very, very open, house that you can be able to interact with. They have a number, toll free. Generally, if you go to NCTC website, you're going to find they interact with citizens. Live. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the recognition of the limitations of the hard approaches alone to solve the problem. And that's why increasingly it decided that we're going to adopt soft approaches because they've been bearing fruit, at least in much of the last 10 years.
Sure. Not to be a Debbie Downer in any way, but terrorism by nature is going to occur. It's going to occur repeatedly. Do you think nations who then are susceptible to these attacks futurely are well prepared, better prepared in terms of intelligence, in terms of actual mitigating the effects of an attack?
When we were first attacked in a major way in 1998, we can say we were not exactly, sufficiently prepared. Kenya is a country that has always been known to be prepared in receiving tourists, not in receiving terrorists. And so when terrorists came knocking, we were actually not exactly ready. And that explained some of the haphazard nature in which, of course, we approached it. But I think just based on the history and of response, we've been able to sufficiently, build a more robust framework that is responding to this. Just going by the recent attack at 14 Riverside Drive, you saw even the number of casualties were way less. Yet, ideally, that would have been a massacre. Or that is not to diminish those ones who died. But I think the thing would have been worse. Now, the fact that right now the agencies that are coordinating to be able to ensure that this thing, the problem is solved, of course, we're a lot more prepared. But let's face it also. You see, we live in a region that is volatile. And so, terror acts may happen and probably will happen again. But it's not whether it will happen, it's how prepared are we
for when it does.
For when it does. Number two, do we as citizens, and I keep pushing this point, do we acknowledge and recognize our role in actually fighting terrorism? The United States, in part of the reason it tends to be impregnable after 2001 is because people are very, very conscious of the environment, situationally. When you pass in a neighborhood that you're new, you're going to be reported by the police. That's why they say, when you see something, say something. Are we doing that?
You should tell them, the human rights people. So the ones they don't want to have a police state and all.
No. Latiff, you can't put me on the line here, especially because you see the way I'm trying to make sure that we finish this particular discussion with a nice partnership. But yes, I hear you, especially around advocacy, so that we say this is a shared responsibility. It's not just going to be the state or the police or whoever, that we have our people with their eyes on the ground and on the lookout, so that if you see any specific, something that's off, if it's in your area and you see a certain fishy, tenant, you're able to raise the alarm. And also to say that if someone raises the alarm and there's nothing to eat, then you don't also ostracize them because, this person just loves, talking and bluffing and maybe calling for attention. So those are some of the things, obviously, we are talking about. But I'm happy at least to learn that the scorecard looks nice, right? Because from the outside, it just doesn't look like we're winning. It feels like it keeps getting worse. And we have money that we are receiving, but we're not seeing anything. So having this discussion with you is quite useful, that at least we have moved from what we saw in 1998, or even the funny things that we're seeing between 2011 and 2015. And I'm hoping that these particular discussions will keep covering that. It was nice having you on board for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice having you too.
Asante sana Daktari. And of course, it's good to hear that. Yes, of course, we know that we have people who are really dedicated. Those that are out there on the front line, I'm sure some of them, you come across them in your daily interactions. Just tell them we appreciate them.
Yes, and thanks. I also do appreciate that we can actually get a chance to talk about our national security and our collective safety.
Yes.
Because in the old African saying of Ubuntu, I am because you are because we are, and we should stay like that.
Very good. Dr. Hassan Kanenje, Director, Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Azimio leader Raila Odinga scoffed at claims that his coalition was clamoring to join President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza government, while maintaining that the opposition had no such intentions. Raila said his side had agreed to dialogue with the ruling coalition in order to address the most pressing issues affecting the country, such as the high cost of living.
Lakini kuna kitu muhimu ambayo wamesema. Ati Wakenya wengi wameona uzito kwa upande ya gharama ya maisha. Sivyo? Wananchi walikuwa wamelia sana, gharama ya maisha imepanda juu. Bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta, bei ya sukari, bei ya stima na kadhalika. Wakaikawa juu sana. Na tukasema hii mzigo umekuwa mzito. Tukamwambia Bwana Ruto na watu yake kwamba Wakenya wanasikia uzito. Na Waswahili walisema ati kibebacho kikivuja ni nafuu kwa mchukuzi.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna is asking Azimio leaders leading the mediation talks with the government to ensure that issues concerning Kenyans are given a priority. Speaking in Kasarani, Sifuna said that Kenyans have been affected by the high cost of living.
Maisha imekalia hawa watu wa Nairobi hawa. Tafadhali Eugene, msisahau wananchi. Kila wakati mnaingia kwa mkutano, agenda ya kwanza baada ya maombi mnaenda kwa unga. Maombi, unga. Mkutano ikiishia hapo ni sawa. Tena mkirudi siku nyingine, maombi, unga. Mpaka ikieleweke kwamba maisha imeshinda hawa wananchi, kwa sababu ukiangalia kila kitu imepanda. Mwezi huu wanasema wale ambao mna bahati mmepata payslip, ile ushuru mtalipa hamujawahi kulipa tangu mzaliwe. Wanaenda wana double, wanakata mara mbili.
He said Azimio will continue to fight for the interests of Kenyans, asking the government to ensure that the families of those who died and got injured in the protest led by Azimio get the justice they deserve.
Tulikuwa tumefika mahali ambapo sasa tunataka kuona action kutoka kwa serikali ya William Ruto. Ya kwamba kitu cha kwanza, ndugu zetu ambao wameuawa kupitia mkono wa polisi na risasi za serikali, ndugu zetu ambao wako hospitalini, Mheshimiwa Eugene, kama hawa jamaa hawasemi vile ambavyo wataleta fidia kwa familia za hawa ndugu zetu, hakuna haja ya hiyo mazungumzo. Muanzie hapo.
And Roads and Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has challenged National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah and Azimio Co-Principal Kalonzo Musyoka to start bipartisan talks immediately instead of engaging in unnecessary exchange of letters. Speaking in Homa Bay County, Murkomen castigated the two for the back and forth, saying they are derailing their talks.
Sijui kwa nini Kimani Ichung'wah na Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka wanaandikiana barua. Hii mabarua mingi wanaandikiana nini? Si wapigiane simu na wakutane na waanze mkutano. Kwani hii ni mara ya kwanza watu kuongea? Kwa nini lazima waongee kwa mabarua? They just call themselves. Kama ni kukutana kwa restaurant ama county hall ama ni wapi, we don't want to know. Wapigiane simu, wakubaliane na wakutane. Alafu kufika huko waongee. Kwani kuna makosa kuongea? Na kila mtu afungue roho yake. Kuna haja kuambia mtu usiongee, usiseme hii. Kila mtu aseme, huyu anasema nataka hii, unaambia hii haiwezekani, mimi nataka hii. Alafu mnakubaliana, mnasema hii 5 ulikuwa nayo na hii 5 wewe uko nayo, tukubaliane na 3, hiyo 2 ngojee siku nyingine. Alafu tupeleke nchi iende wapi? Mbele.
And the Archbishop of Anglican Church of Kenya, Jackson Ole Sapit, has once again reiterated his concerns over hardline stances being taken by the political class and called on the Kenya Kwanza and Azimio coalitions to adopt more moderate positions as they begin their talks, in addition to calling for moderation and an end to the rallies. Archbishop Sapit also called on President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga to take advantage of the current calm in the country to resolve the contentious issues.
Tumeanza kuona maneno na matamshi makali kwa virengo vyote viwili ambayo inatishia ile nafasi ambayo Wakenya walikuwa wameona kuna matumaini ya mazungumzo ili nchi iweze kupata maendeleo na iweze kuendelea kwa pamoja. Wito wangu kwa viongozi wa siasa wa nchi hii ni kwamba tuna nchi moja na ni ya Wakenya wote, si ya wachache, ni ya kila mmoja wetu. Na sio sisi tu tunayoishi sasa. Ni Kenya ambayo inangojea watoto ambao hawajazaliwa, na ni jukumu letu kuboresha kwa nafasi yetu na kuimarisha ili Kenya iweze kuwa Kenya bora kwa vizazi vijavyo.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto, good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The clock says we're coming out of traffic hour soon, but the roads are saying something totally different. A totally different picture being painted on the Thika Superhighway as well as Kiambu Road, coming in towards Wangari Maathai Way, and everybody trying to touch on Chiromo as a quicker route to get into the city. It is not working because it's bumper to bumper, through and through. We're also seeing traffic on Limuru Road as you come then into the city via Westlands, Chiromo. People are running away from Moranga Road and then they get stuck on Chiromo. It's like cat and mouse out here this morning. We're also seeing movement on Jogo Road. It's now less busy on Raila Odinga Way, but Uhuru Highway then packs a punch with quite some traffic as you're getting into the city. Coming off of Wayaki Way, also pretty busy. North Airport Road decided, okay, let's finish this traffic business real quick, and they did. So you're not going to have a problem there. Outer Ring, a bit busy. Bits and bobs of traffic, but nothing too worrisome. Let's wait and see what happens about 9:30 when traffic hour comes to an end. For now, just take care and talk to us on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start.
After 9. On to the final hour of The Situation Room this morning. Still here, Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga is watching from home, and our guest host, Isabella Obara. How's it so far?
I love it. I love it. I've just been wondering if you do this every other day, but it's quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly the fastest 4 hours of my week.
Yeah. Just like that.
Quite fast.
It was 5 a.m. just the other time.
And now
just
it's
like
9.
20 minutes ago.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. But thanks for having me again.
Very good. Isabella is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and she's also a commissioner of oath.
Yes.
And soon, how many years left?
Now it should be notary public. A few months.
A few months
yes.
to be notary public.
I love this so much.
An advocate for human rights working with the independent medical legal units. Are you ready to run on the 29th of October, Sunday? The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon will be marking its 20th edition. The single largest day athletic event in the country is back for its 20th year, marking 20 years of running. How do you do this? You start preparing yourself early. That's what we're telling you early. We're in August. It's October. You don't come and tell us, oh, I could have done the 10K, but then I've learned. No. Start preparing for the 20 kilometers, and then you can run 10K extra. Right. So just doing 30. Not bad, right? Or you can do the full 42 kilometers. I mean, why not? You have all the time to prepare. Go to nairobimarathon.com and register with only 2,000 bob and get ready. It's holiday season.
Yes, it is.
CT is not here because he's watching TV.
Dear parents, guardians, and children alike, this is a public announcement calling on all children who've closed school for the August holidays. DSTV is calling upon you to never stop thinking and imagining. You are cordially invited to our wonder-filled world packed with the greatest kids content from Africa and across the world. Don't waste your kids' holiday, August holiday that is. Get connected to DSTV today and watch your kids expand their horizons with content that will inspire them to be more adventurous and fun. People, it's all on DSTV. Dial star 423# or download my DSTV app to get a DSTV decoder with a 1 month of family for just 2,999.
Now, 6 hours ago, the BBC published a new story, and it's a video and text story. BBC Africa Eye, elderly canned at Kenya's PCEA Thogoto Care Home for the Aged. Let me read just a snippet of that story. Vulnerable residents at an elderly care home near Nairobi, Kenya's capital, have been mistreated and neglected. A BBC Africa Eye investigation has revealed. Secret filming shows staff members physically mistreating residents, dumping food directly onto tables without any plates, and leaving medical conditions untreated. Hit her on the buttocks, beat her, a member of staff urges a stick-wielding colleague at the PCEA Thogoto Care Home for the Aged, which is about 20 kilometers west of Nairobi. The undercover footage shows that moments before, 3 staff dressed in purple uniforms surround an old woman by a metal gate flanked by sheets of corrugated iron at the perimeter of the home's garden. "Where were you heading to on that side?" asks one of the staff. "You were called and you refused to come back." The old woman, wearing a fleece and a bobble hat, appears confused and frightened. "Oh, please forgive me," she says. "Now we have to cane you," says one of the staff. A staff member can then be seen hitting the elderly woman's bottom with a wooden stick. This is just one example of evidence of mistreatment uncovered in the BBC Africa Eye investigation. The care home was set up by Women's Guild of the local PCEA church, but is now managed independently. It's home to around 50 elderly women and men. Over the last decade, the number of homes for the elderly is reported to have almost tripled in Nairobi. Many of them don't charge rent, and they are supported by local churches or they rely on donations. A gut-wrenching story. It's out there. The video is out. Betrayed. Elderly care exposed. BBC Africa Eye documentary. Go onto YouTube and you'll find it. One of the journalists who worked on this is our next guest. Hussein Mohammed. No, not that one. Hussein Mohammed, senior investigative journalist with BBC Africa Eye, is our guest. Good morning, Hussein.
Good morning, Latiff. Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hussein, you're not a guest on this show. The last time you were here, you were working with us.
Yeah.
And now you've moved on. And congratulations for all the good work that you've done.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
This is a big one. This particular story, you'll tell us more about it. But let me just give you today's proverb to welcome you to the show. If CT were here, he'd have given it to you. But now the honor falls on me. I'm 65 years old today.
Good Lord.
Right. Today's proverb is from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, that whole region. Pick one country and say this is where it's come from, okay? Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Does it resonate?
As a pastoralist, it doesn't resonate. But I think it has a deeper meaning.
You have experience with the cooked head of a sheep.
Definitely.
Well, how is it?
I mean, coming from where I come in the north, we are pastoralists, and the soup of the sheep, of the goat, is one which is really beneficial. It has nutrients. So the proverb, I think, resonates a lot in terms of what we get from. Is there a confidence? Is there the confidence
is like that?
It's like that. Yeah.
So if it's cooked well,
yes,
a person will eat it.
Exactly. Then I think above all, also not thinking about the above meaning, the meaning that when you see, but the deeper meaning of what oozes out, the nutrients, the beneficial things. Confidence can be something bigger than what we think. Confidence can be what gets you the next job. Confidence can be what makes you to do the next story. And confidence can be what moves you from one place to another. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That's a good interpretation of it.
I like it.
Always a fresh angle of looking at things.
Yeah, I didn't think that we'd have this given the previous guests. So the nutrition aspect didn't even come to me. So that's quite plausible if you ask me.
The thing about Proverbs, as CTO always says, everybody's interpretation has a new angle and brings in a new context into it. Yeah. Now, tell us about this story that 6 hours ago it was published on BBC. It talks about this particular elderly home, PCA in Okoh. How long was this undercover work done? And what kind of undercover are we talking about?
I mean, this. Let me just start from the back. We got reports first that there is allegations of mistreatment, theft in the care home. So what we did, we sent undercover reporters who were stationed there for at least 18 months, just to try and piece up exactly what is happening. And I think from that is when we started getting small snippets of what the allegations were, turning out now to be real stories. As Africans, we all value our elderly, how we take care of our fathers. I'm sure every one of us here, how you take care of your father, your grandfather, when you come and see them, how you hug them, how you feel them. So going through footage, hours and hours and months of footage, just seeing this kind of treatment or mistreatment, for lack of a better word, for our elderly people, it was shocking. Not even shocking for us. Getting to hear from elderly men say they are willing to die. It's not something that you get to hear every day. We had the undercover reporters, some of them even switching off their cameras at some point and saying, I have to take a break. This is how emotional it was getting. Because I've done so many stories as an investigative journalist, but this one has really hit me because I think after just filming, I used to go back and see my grandparents and just see my father, say hi. You get that feeling there is something that you are lacking after going through all that process of reviewing and previewing the footage several times. It showcases a very bad scene. So yeah, it took about 18 months. We used undercover reporters who were stationed there.
18 months?
About 18 months, yeah.
Of daily recording?
Almost daily recording, depending on the weekends or if they were off, but almost daily recording, yeah.
So Mohammed, what exactly is going on here? What's going on at Okoh?
Well, first of all, you need to have the bigger picture of what it looks like. I'm sure during Christmas or during Easter holidays or birthday parties, we all go and visit the elderly.
Yes.
That's the same scenario how it looks like. The place is, you come in, it's actually opposite the Kikuyu hospital. So you come in, you're received by the manager or the people out there. So if you have your elderly person you want to put him or her in a home, so you come in there. So what we found out is that they pay a fee of around 40,000.
40,000
for what?
For for the person. So the person I'm bringing my father, I'm bringing my
it's a
grandfather.
one of 40,000.
One of 40,000. So I'm not sure if there were any more charges, but from what we got, the people who were coming, they were able to pay around 40,000. So they pay the money. They bring in your elderly person. So there are about 50 persons, as you have earlier mentioned. So essentially, when you come in, you see everything is nice. Like when you're coming for the gift, bringing as a well wisher, when you bring the gifts, everything looks good. But on the inside, at night, the recordings we were seeing during after hours, when people are not there, it's really shocking, for lack of a better word. You find the elderly taking showers in the cold. You'll find, and remember Kikuyus, I'm sure you know Kikuyus, it's very cold. So you can imagine, and I say taking shower, I don't mean how we take showers in our houses. Like a bucket being thrown, just being thrown today. I'm like, someone wiping them.
They're being bathed
out. Actually, they're being bathed outside in the cold. We also saw, I'm sure you've seen the clip, some of them being caned. Imagine caning a 60-year-old or 50-year-old person.
Pause. Who is this that's bringing their elderly person to this home?
These are Kenyans. Kenyans who feel they need extra care. Some of them due to the current situation in the country, the economy. Or these are Kenyans who cannot afford to take care of their parents. So they think this can be a good place. And remember, it's run by the church, so they feel this is a safe place for them. For my
reliable, dependable.
Yeah. There's food from the world wishers which is brought occasionally. I mean, we have even seen top banks also bringing food.
Do the people visit their kin?
Sorry?
When I bring my elderly person there, many of those that have been brought, are they visited by their family?
Some of them are visited.
So there are some who are not.
Some are not. Actually, most of them who are there are not visited, but some are visited by their families. The well wishers are the ones who really visit a lot. From what we gathered in the few months that were almost a year and a half we were there. But the key thing that we found out is that these people have families. If you trace back, they have families, but some families also do not want to take care of them. Others really care. So there's one person who had really gone through a rough process. We called him Mwangi in the film. He needed treatment. You could see blood stains all over his body. You could see the skin peeling off. And he's saying he's ready to die. No one is taking care of him. So the undercover reporter is asking him, so what will you do? He says, I don't know what to do. It's itchy. You can even see he's breathing hard. It's very itchy for him. He really wants something for the pain. So for a long time when we stayed there, no one took him to the hospital. So later he got a chance. One of his family members came, and they found him in a very, very sad situation. I think he got help later. That's after a few months. So this is some of the things that we were able to showcase. There are lots of things that we were not able to showcase, but on the bottom line, it is a very sad story. It's a very sad situation here in Kenya, as Africans, just letting to see our parents, our grandfathers, our elders just going through all that.
Hussein, in the same vein, because you're saying as Africans, this is not ordinarily what we normally see in our setting. In the West, it's very prominent. It's something that you do once you hit possibly a certain age, 55, 60, you're taken somewhere, and it's properly structured, right? Here, we normally just take care of our parents. So while you're doing this particular assignment, do you get to find out exactly why these people are here? Is it because of health reasons? Is it primarily because they don't have people to take care of them? Is it maybe do they just want camaraderie, or do they just want to be with their mates? What exactly is this that's putting them in this particular space? And also, do we then see that they stay there forever? Is it now because you're here, we'll never discharge you if it's a hospital setting or whatever? Do you stay there up until you die? Or are there chances or maybe instances,
in
the period of the 18 months that you saw some of their family members coming to pick them?
That's a very good question. I think while we were doing our research in the beginning of the story, once we got the story, just to try and we're getting the prima facie evidence and everything, we also wanted to know why there is an increase in people getting to these homes. Normally, it's not the African setting. We take care of our parents and take care of our grandfathers. But we noticed in the last decade, like 10 years, the life expectancy has grown here in Kenya. Mm-hmm. So there are a number of people who are now taking their people to care homes is increasing. For instance, here in Kenya, we have 30 care homes. But only 3 are run by the government. Only 3. That is in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kirinyaga that are run by the government. So you can imagine the other 27 are either private, run by a church, or run by well-wishers. So it is increasing, and the government is trying to build a new one in Kilifi. It's not yet up, but the last 10 years, these things has been increasing. We are also shocked during our investigation to see that not only elders who are above a certain age, even some who are 40, 50, 60, we would thought probably from above 70 to 80, you'll see they're the ones who need help. But people are coming in early in these care homes.
Sure. Okay. So I just want to build on that, especially because you mentioned something to do with prima facie. So let's base this discussion within the maybe the normative and institutional framework for promoting, and protecting rights of aged persons. Yeah. So it's the government's obligation to ensure that they take care of vulnerable groups. Article 57 of the Constitution of Kenya, and so we already have that particular effort seen in 3 of the government institutions. Now, why I'm trying to place this in the law is because the traditional definition of torture still remains, that it's a public officer in the official capacity harming mentally or physically. That particular definition has remained the same, but now the settings are changing. So in the 60s, 70s, we had torture for political opponents, silencing people. But now, what it is that you're doing is quite timely, especially because it's opening up space for discussion where we are seeing torture moving from politics to now maybe juvenile homes. We are seeing it moving now to the spaces that you're talking about. And given that particular definition and where it has moved, so these particular 3 government institutions would be something that human rights officers would be looking at. So did you, at any particular point, work around this? I've given you the framework as is, and now we've domiciled it in the government. Do we have anything related to this particular 3 government institutions at whatever point?
That's a very good question. I think from the onset, once we set out to do any story, we have to know what are we selling, what is the reason behind us telling this story, and of course it's not just not to do an expose, it's also to showcase, as you can see in the program later, we showcase a good home, what a good home looks like. We went to Nyeri, we showcased what a good home looks like. We also went to the government, reached out to the permanent secretary, the principal secretary for social protection and the elder citizen affairs, just to talk to him. Do you know this is happening? Because according to what you have mentioned, their mandate also is to supervise and see what is happening in these other 27 homes.
Yes.
And of course, he said that he's going to look into it, which we really hope that he does, because this is just one home. I think from the last 6 hours since the story has been up, everyone is just texting in saying, I know a similar story, or someone is saying, I used to take food there. So it is something which is really starting to happen. People are now talking about it. And that is the essence. The essence for us is we stand by our investigation, not only just to expose and leave. We also try and look for solutions, and that's why we showed people what a good home looks like. We give also background to tell people that yes, we are Africans, not our usual time to leave our parents, but things could be changing, and if they're changing, how are we handling them? So it was a whole background of research, background of where we are heading as a country. Because at the end of the day, also we have to look into the laws of the country. What does it say in terms of social protection, in terms of protecting the rights of these people? Because no one, if you are living, you are these elders here, no one is coming to them. Who is protecting them?
The laws, the laws are there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do think that every day that we see things like this, we're looking at the staggering degeneration of morals. It doesn't matter what area, what sector you want to look at. It's clear that is happening. I'm curious as to who did these journalists pose as? Because nighttime, you're not going to walk into a home and say, well, I want to spend the night. No. Who did they pose as?
So we were very, that's a very good question. We were very careful in terms of selection of our undercover. First of all, one of our undercover, I think as we have mentioned in the film, is someone who has been in this industry for caregiving. And you can see when she says that, the first question when they ask you when you go for a caregiving interview, are you here for the money or are you passionate? So more passion is what drives most people who do caregiving. So for her, it was more traumatizing. For her, she's an experienced person who has been doing this for some time. But you can tell how the narrative has changed, because when the undercover reporter, who is a caregiver, when they went, there were two of them. When they went in there, they were expecting to see something different, because we got allegations. So they were expecting because they believe as a caregiver there are things you should never do.
Yes.
So they were expecting to see that something different. But when they arrived there, at some point, one of them switched off the camera and cried in the toilet.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was overwhelming just to see someone with pain. But you find someone, the food has been poured down, then your hands are shaking. The elderly hands are shaking. She cannot eat. Someone has to feed her, but she's left there. So she doesn't have breakfast. She doesn't have lunch. The food is poured. So she's picking one item, struggling. So these are scenes that we were seeing in all the footage that we recorded here.
I know I want to go to a break. Just quickly, from what then you were able to gather, are the guests, I'm going to call them guests, at the care home privileged to speak to family members regularly? Can they call their people? Can their people call them to find out how they're doing? Does that ever happen?
Unfortunately, when we were there, it didn't happen.
Over the 18 months, people did not call their people?
When they call their people, they are painted that things are okay.
So they don't speak to them directly?
No. So some of them have phones. Some of them have phones.
Some of the elderly people have phones.
Yes, some of them have phones. The ones who have been there for some time, they have phones.
Right.
But you'll find that when there's a situation that needs to be reported, like for instance, Mwangi, who we call Mwangi. So he was not feeling well. They had blastings. You could see his skin is peeling off. So Mwangi had a phone, he tried to call. But when you, as a person who was an elder there, when you call in, I want to check on my person, how are they doing? Of course, they will tell you probably he's busy, they are feeding him now, he's taking a shower. But
they're asleep.
Or they're asleep or something. But even if when you come as a well-wisher
to
visit, they put in new bed sheets, new. So you get to see
lovely rosy story,
and they're seeing it. I mean, you see from the clip, they're noticing. The elderly, they're not foolish. They're seeing it.
They can see.
They're seeing their food. You as a well-wisher coming with food, and then suddenly the food is being put in a car. They're seeing it's going. Then they are being told this food is going to another care home. So they're asking, why don't they take it to the care home straight? Why they bring it here? And then so they are seeing it, and they're saying it in the clips. You can see it. Like, why are they taking us to be fools? So it's something it's very sad. Yeah.
Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 10. The conversation we're having this morning is around this news story by the BBC Africa Eye, which is exposing what's happening at a particular elderly care home in Okoh. And 18 months of work has gone into this, and what they're showing basically is the mistreatment that these elderly people get. And let's just say they're getting the mistreatment from the staff at this particular home. They're getting mistreatment also from, in many cases, their family members as well, who bring them there and they don't even come back to check up on them, and they don't follow up what's happening. That's a big one. Star 832 hash. That's star 832 hash. That's how you get to register on Boma Yangu, or you can go to the website bomayangu.go.ke. This is the government's affordable housing portal, and they're encouraging you to register because that's the only way you will be able to participate in owning one of the affordable housing units.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel young again and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of Spice FM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Jimmy Gathu live. This is a man's show where we talk about politics, men talk, sports, anything that spells man. Does your partner communicate in any way, be it financially, be it sexually, be it heart to heart? That's a communication that you will never hear in a marriage counseling session. So the most
sun is trying to peek through those clouds. It's 16 degrees. We'll see highs of 21. 26 will be the high in a sunny Nakuru, and it's 16 and sunny in Nyeri, going to highs of 21. 23 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret, and we'll see sunny conditions through Mombasa, going to highs of 29. It'll also be sunny through Malindi, going to highs of 28. It's a sunny morning in Kisumu at 24, and it's 23 and sunny in Kakamega. Looking into Kampala, sunny at 23 with highs of 27, and 29 will be the high in Dar es Salaam, where it's sunny at 25. 13 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 21, and 29 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Lagos at 25. It's 20 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31. Looking into Monday afternoon in Beijing, it's cloudy at 27, and it's partly sunny at 15 in Paris, 14 and sunny in London, and at 24, Sunday night is still cloudy in New York, coming into Monday, highs of 27 and lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still crazy traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Not quite sure what's causing this, but we're looking at bumper to bumper traffic all the way from Outer Ring on the Thika Superhighway today. It's uncharacteristic for this time, so we'll just have to watch this through the morning. Also on Huru Highway, traffic still continues, and past the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Apart from that, everything else seems to have settled down. Through the morning, let's talk Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hussein Mohammed, senior investigative journalist, BBC Africa Eye. We're talking about this new expose by the BBC. Elderly canned at Kenya's PCA, the Okoh Care Home for the Aged. It's up on YouTube. You can go search it and you'll find it. It's basically just one of those stories that you ask yourself, what exactly is happening? So what the BBC have done is, over the past 18 months, they've actually had investigative undercover journalists working on this story in this particular elderly care home, where after they got a report that there's something that's wrong that's happening in this home, they started on this work, and they've been recording this for all that time. Elderly people are brought to this particular home. It was established by the PCEA, Okoh, by the Women's Guild. It's now run privately. People are brought here to be taken care of. Some family members bring people and they don't come back. Others bring people and they come and visit them regularly. But then well-wishers will come with food, with beddings, with clothes, with everything, bringing to this home. What the story is revealing is that some of these things don't even get to the intended beneficiaries. And that's why we were going into a break, and that's what you were saying. Some of this food is brought and then it's carted away. Where is it taken to?
We tried to follow where the food is taken, but we were not able to know where it's taken. But what we were able to gather is that the car that the food is put is a car one of the staff members inside their home. So occasionally, mostly weekends, when well-wishers come in to visit, and they come in with different things from unga to oil to you can see from the clip one of them saying like beans, they love beans and chapati. So most of them they are taken away from them. They go to what they are told. The elders, they are told that it has gone to a different home.
The food is going to a different home.
Yes, but we were able to try and follow. We saw the food was packed into a car. Occasionally the same car of one of the staff members there. And then they drive off. So every time that there is well-wishers coming, one of the staff members, including Jane, who is the director, they come in, take the food. The food actually is put in the private room, like more of a boardroom. They're locked in there with a key. So when they come in, the food is taken back, put in the car. Actually, the most interesting thing is that one of the elderly guys is the one who helps them.
The prefect.
Yes, to take the food there from the boardroom inside
into the car.
Into the car. So it's something that has really, so I would say, it's defrauding Kenyans, because you are bringing your food there, knowing that it's going to someone.
You're coming to support this particular community, and then they are not the ones who are benefiting from your intended support.
Exactly.
What is the general health condition of what to call them, the guests in this particular care home? Are they ill? Are there some of them who have terminal conditions? What's their mental state? How are they?
Some of them are ill. One of them who we have featured in, could see he had like a skin infection or skin problem. He's bleeding all over his body. Some of them are old. They have problems for probably eating. Some of them can't walk very well. But some are okay. Some help each other. Most of them help each other, because the staff members there don't really help. You find someone is struggling, for instance, to wake up. So if they fall down at night, so till the next morning,
nobody's going to support them.
Nobody's going to support them. So
Latiff, I'm seeing something interesting, and I wanted to catch it before it goes on the comments. So Black Signam, sorry if I got it wrong, he's saying Kenya is one of the countries that has ratified the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of older persons. Do national laws reflect the articles of the Charter, and are they being enforced? So 2 questions. Do national laws reflect the Charter? Hell yes. We have the Retirement Benefits Act. We have the Social Assistance Act. We have the People Living with Disabilities Act. We have the NHIF Act. And even outside these particular laws, we already have the Constitution as is. I know Ndu and Latiff are calling them guests. I'll call them victims without prejudice. These particular victims are already covered, Article 57 and Article 260, where they're defined, so that if you're above 60 years of age, then you're already elderly. So with respect to the national laws, we have that. But now enforcement and implementation is then something we can discuss, because from what it is that you've already seen in the, in the 18 months, then enforcement or implementation is in question.
This is the thing. And when you look at the reality of the situation on the ground, Mohammed, we can talk about the law.
Yes.
But you know what it is? It's that it's a silver packaging around rot.
It's an academic exercise.
So there can be the law.
Yes.
And that's why I talked about the degeneration of morals. People just have bad manners and people are misbehaving. Why? Because they can. The law notwithstanding. Do you think the person, and Mohammed, maybe you can get me wrong, say I'm wrong on this, but the person who is tossing food on the table, or the person who sees a situation, it is cold. Let's talk about right now even. It is cold. It is not common sense that anybody, not just an elderly person, anybody taking a bath, you're supposed to be taking care of this person, taking a bath at night, and you're pouring cold water on them. Is it the law that is going to say that this person should not do that? No, it is this person who is behaving badly.
And I totally
agree.
And
they don't stop because they don't have to. They behave that way because they can. And that was my next question. Who is in a position of authority in this place? Who is the one who is supposed to be going around?
What's the management structure?
Making sure that everything is,
So this thing was started by the Women's Guild of the PCA.
Yes.
And then, so this was charge.
Yes.
Now you say it's private. So what's the management structure? Who's in charge of this?
So
who's the boss? Who oversights them?
So as you put it, the Women's Guild are the one who officially started this thing, run by the PCA Church. But they have a director. She's called Jane Gaturu. I think we asked her for right of reply for the story. And then they have a board. They have a board. The board members who sit almost. Probably we have seen them mostly. Almost every week they come in. So they have a director and board members, but essentially everything revolves around Jane. She is the in charge person.
Okay.
Like if you're coming in with your person you want to bring him or her in, you have to meet Jane. If there's a problem that you have to meet Jane. Jane is the one who sort you out. Okay. So she's the one who's running the old station. But I think we have spoken about government interference or how government should come in and try and monitor. I don't think that has been really happening.
So what kind of licensing do they have?
Yeah.
Because if you're running this thing, are you running it as just a home? So do you have any form of structure, license? Are they registered? So they're registered as a foundation, as a charity, as a society.
As a private, it's more of a private.
Limited.
Entity. Yes, a private entity.
Limited by what? By guarantee?
What we got is the private entity and more of a charity.
Okay.
Yes, more of a charity.
Is there anything from? This is the Kiambu County.
Yes.
Do they get anything from the Kiambu County government?
We're not sure if they do get anything from the Kiambu County. What we
in
are
terms
sure
of licensing, permits, nothing.
We're not sure of that. What we are sure of is that the church, the PCA church, is like the lead for them. So you'll find the women.
It's the Mother Institute organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
There is a State Department for Social Protection.
Yes, there is.
Right now, it's under the ministry of Aisha Jumo's ministry.
Yeah.
Public service, gender, and all. And we have social officers at county level, at sub-county level. Are any of them involved in oversighting this facility?
They have to. To
the best of your knowledge, did you, throughout these 18 months, is there a visit that is paid by any government authority to come and inspect?
We have not seen that. If they came in and we were not there, but when our undercover reporters were there, we did not encounter that. And we asked the PS. We showed him this is what we have gotten in the last few months that we were here. He said this is a trouble situation. He says that he will check, look into it, but we have not seen that.
Can we go back to Jane for a minute? Yeah. Does Jane know what's happening here with her? I'm assuming that Jane, the overall, as you said, the people who are perpetrating these crimes, because that's what Isabella wants to. It's a crime.
Yes,
these are victims. Yes. Who are doing these things, perpetrating these crimes. Does Jane know that her people are doing these things? Is she aware from any indication that you got?
If she's aware, but then. I think she's leading a very different and troubled place if she's aware, because what we got from is that we know that some of her staff, and we have put it to her, even during the right of reply, some of her staff were seen doing this. Even we saw you doing this and this and this. So in terms of the theft of food, we have seen food going. Is it true that you accept this allegation? So what Jen said is that she termed it as malice.
By you now?
Yes, this is malice. This is untruth. And you can see from the clip. So if Jane is aware of could be or could not be, we're not sure. But the head caregivers there really don't care. for lack of a better word, because what we have gotten from the clips that we are seeing, you can see one of them saying, I think she's pretending. Like when an elder asks something, she's pretending she can walk or he can do this. So it's like they don't care for. It's a care home, but they don't care. Yeah.
I'm grateful that you're bringing light to these areas that we normally don't focus on mostly, especially when it comes to, inhumane and degrading treatment. But again, to go back to that person who was asking, so the laws are there, but we are not doing well, for sure, as is in so many other aspects. But I'm wondering whether now for the 27 other maybe organizations, have you possibly had a chat with them and what was the feel of staff? Because then you're able to feel. And also during this particular 18 months, at whatever point did you have any instance where there was possibly some procedure for any form of misconduct from the employees? I'm trying to see, because if you are saying that this particular Jane doesn't know or may know, 1 year, 6 months would be enough to see if it is a culture ingrained in their working systems or it's something that is a bit different and you just caught them at a bad time.
I think just speak it up from where I left. I think it's a culture. It's a culture ingrained there because even what the elders are telling us that it has been happening. We just came and found it, but it has been happening. This is how they have been staying. When the undercover reporters speak to the elders, they say, "Oh no, we are just waiting to die." That's what they're saying. We're just waiting to die. We have not got medical attention. The food, we are seeing it just passing by us. So that's to get to your question. Jane may not know or may know or may not know. But for me, where we see as BBC, what we got is that this is a culture, because not only one caregiver, like different caregivers could do the same thing. Okay. Yeah.
So on average, how long have these particular people stayed in this home? I'm trying to make a case for it's a culture. This is what we ordinarily do, and even if you had the very best of caregivers, this is exactly what the system looks like. So for, let's say, Mwangi that you keep referring to, for how long has he been in this particular institution? Did you have an average of these 50 people?
Yeah. There are some who have been there for the last 5 years. There are some. We also got one who came in during that 18 months. Came in and left.
So 10 toes down, you didn't catch them at a bad time?
No. Okay. This is something which has been happening. You know about the prima facie. So before we got in, we had to spend time, before we started recording, we had to spend time just taking notes of what's happening. And it was happening during that time. So this is aside from the 18 months. So we had to spend time just taking notes and trying to see, is it something that is cultured in or ingrained in, or is it something that just happened by fluke, just one person did it. But what we found out is that different caregivers do almost the same thing.
So if we're looking at an overarching, principle here, and I'm going to link it to a story that you did in the past. I think one of the ones that we discussed here about more or less the same kind of behavior now towards children, right? And it was happening with children. Interesting enough, you did that story whereby the people in a position of authority or management also, let loose on how they're supposed to behave. And so now we're looking at two sets of vulnerable people here, children, and now in this case, we're looking at older people, the elderly, who cannot care for themselves by virtue of age or because of illness or whatever be. So now we are looking at a principle whereby in an institution where there's no oversight, and that the authorities that be in terms of checking and making sure things are all right, because people are not checking, because there's really nobody to answer to, are we seeing now this is where these situations now worsen based on what you've done and seen?
No, I agree with you. I mean, for over time, that when we tell these stories, there's a reason why we bump into these stories, because there are areas where people don't really focus on. And if they focus on, there's not much put into it. Because one, you can see, for instance, this place is run by well-wishers. You bring in your food, So not much people when Africans or Kenyans, we are used to, when you come to see your elders, when you come to see people who are ill, there's that feeling of, let's give him, let's give her, so no one really cares of exactly what is happening behind the scenes. So for us, that behind the scenes is what motivated us. And I agree with you. This 27 or all of them, or 30 care homes should be really supervised and checked in. Probably things could be getting worse, or probably there are no systems in check. Because, for instance, having gone through all those months just recording and filming all this, it hits you that the system is not working.
Yeah.
For instance, you cannot say an elderly person is sick. So what do we do? Do we let him die? There's no medicine. There's nothing. No, they're not given anything. For instance, the Mwangi, you could see from his body this is a clear indication that this guy is ill. He's peeling off,
and
there's blood. He's even screaming, "I'm in pain. I'm in pain." What do you do? So if there's nothing you do in that situation, then the broader picture of how to take care of everything.
And you are adjacent to a hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the irony. That's the irony.
And what's confusing even further is that is it charitable or is it profit making? There's a fee that's paid when you're bringing this particular person. You mentioned a fee of 40,000 Kenya shillings, but you're also telling us that it's a charitable. So what is this particular entity? I'm wondering, where do we even domicile it in the law? Because you can't be making profits and be charitable at the same time. So what exactly are you doing? Because if it's charitable, then this particular, whatever it is that you receive is fully for these people.
Yeah.
At no particular point do you have to transfer it. It's not transferable. And if you're profit making, then you owe these people. They have a legitimate expectation of the services. Because when I'm paying this 40,000, then I should know exactly that my uncle is going to receive this and this and this. And they're not receiving.
Talking about the services, there's money that the government pays to the elderly. I'm sure we all know that.
Yep.
Yes.
So this money that is being paid to the elderly, that's what the caregivers say. But they have gotten their money. They will. So this most of the time, even the elders, they are afraid when the money comes. We have had situations where they have had to hide their money under the blankets. Their money gets lost. So there is a lot which is happening that we were not able to put inside the documentary. So they also get money that comes in from the government.
But they have to be taken to the bank,
to the M-Pesa shop
to withdraw their money.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a lot which is happening that we were not able to tell. But for us, our main focus was just to focus on this mistreatment.
And the behind-the-scenes mistreatment.
Yes.
How's the recruitment process here? How does one get to work in such a home?
So I'll answer that from how we got to get recruited. So we applied. One of the undercovers, they applied for a job. Met Jane, discussed with Jane. So the good thing that they have a background with caregiving.
Yeah.
These are people who are passionate and they have been doing. And just to note that when they were there, they were able to help.
Yeah.
They were able to help.
They were actually working.
They were actually working. They were able to give them, at times, they were also bribed. They were given foodstuffs to go home. They refused. And they returned, and you can see the clip, they returned the money. So the recruitment happens that we came in, there's no application as such, just it was a walk-in, a doorstep. They met Jane. Jane vetted them for some time, then says, come back again. And eventually, they were employed, and then they worked there for some time. Yeah.
Are there some positive things that you came across in these 18 months? I mean, is it all doom, gloom, or are there some positive stories?
Well, when you say positive, for me, what was positive is how the well-wishers come in. Like you could see people strolling in with foodstuffs, people happy, people coming in, people are doing birthdays there, people are doing events there, people come in, schools, children come in and want to play with them, with the fathers and the grandfathers who are there. We could see the joy of the people. But on the contrast, after that finishes, we go back to a similar situation of worry and mistreatment and anxious moments.
But are there people who work there besides the undercover?
Yes, there are people.
Are there people who work there and who mean well, and they try to do well?
There are people who work there. We got one of them who really knew what was happening, but didn't want to get involved. So they came or did his thing and left. So there are people who do They know.
Came, sow the rot, and quit.
No. They come. They do their job, and goes home. And we have not gotten any information of some of him doing.
So you know what I'm looking at is clearly, if the director vetted your person and were not able to pick out the bad side of the person and give them the job based on the bad side of the person, it means that the director is actually looking for people who mean well, who can work well, right? It means that she's looking at somebody who's got the qualities of the people that you send.
Yeah.
So how do they turn and just become horrible people? Because clearly they are not recruited on the basis of how mean you are.
Yeah. It's what Isabella was talking about in terms of culture.
It's a culture. It's a culture that just absorbs you.
Yes. And you could see from when we do the debriefing for the undercovers, it's overwhelming for them. Like we always give them time to speak because there's a lot which they saw, there's a lot which they recorded, but there's a lot that goes into the head. Even up to now, like they speak about it. These are people who have been taking care of the elderly for some time. So when they see that no one is reaching out to them, no one is even talking to them, people are caning grandmothers. I mean, it's sad.
Hussein, your undercover people have done a good job, and I hope you know that by their proximity to these particular acts, they require psychotherapy almost immediately, and I'm hoping that you're doing that, because if you are in the line of torture for that long, there's something that snaps inside you that requires some form of support. So I'm hoping that they are
The BBC takes seriously in terms of the safety and protection of any contributor, any undercover, any journalist, including us who have been into this. So in terms of the psychosocial well-being, in terms of follow-ups, in terms of just debriefing moments, these are what we call post-TX after it has gone on air. What do we do? So we have to think about that. It's not only just telling the story and leaving it out. It's just telling and influencing policy, telling and bringing change.
Very good.
Thank you,
Hussein Mohammed, Senior Investigative Journalist with the BBC Africa Eye. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And good job with you and the entire team that worked on this particular story.
Thank you.
It's called Betrayed, Elderly Care Exposed. And this is about the PC at the Okoh Care Home for the Aged. You can go and find it on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Thank you, Isabella, for joining us.
Thank you, Latiff. Thank you, Ndo.
Thank you.
See you again soon.
We'll see you soon.
It's still open.
Yes.
Sawa. Have a lovely day, people. 10 a.m.
Spice up your life